On today's episode of the Drop Everything Now podcast, Steph and Steph are back together again to do some cleanup from the last solo episode that one of our staffs did, and then to basically spend the entire episode talking about our Time Person of the Year, the birthday girl. You guessed it. It's the Time article. It's Taylor Swift, 2023's Time Person of the Year, and that is all we talk about. Obviously, we go on a lot of different tangents based off of the article because she gave us a lot of info and a lot of good stuff to go through. So if you're ready for it, it's time to drop everything now.
Yes, you start. I know we haven't done this, but you start.
Hello, everybody.
What's going on?
My name's Steph.
I'm also Steph.
And welcome to, is episode 31 now?
I guess technically.
Yeah, because Steph did an episode 30 by herself.
I did it by myself. I never want to do it again.
No, literally, it really was so good.
Literally, even right from the beginning, like when I was starting it, I was like, do I say hello, everybody? And then what's going on? Like, do I do them both? Like, it was weird.
No, it was really good as like somebody, like I was just listening to genuinely like listen. And like there are other podcasts that I listened to that had touched on the "you're losing me" thing, but not as in depth. So I felt like fulfilled listening to your analysis of it. And like not even just as your like friend, like that I genuinely just like liked hearing your takes.
Oh my God, that's so good to hear.
Yeah, I did.
Well, mainly because like I knew, well, and I texted you about it too once you listened to it. Like I knew like when I was listening to Midnights again, I had these like thoughts like circulating in my brain, and I knew we were so busy that I was like, I can't wait a month. Like to get these out.
I know.
I'm going to forget them. I'm going to move on. Like similar to other things I said we'd talk about that we won't, but like.
No, I know. And I felt the same way. I was like, oh my God, Taylor Swift, slow down. There's too much because like I had my grades too. I had so many research papers. I had to do my friend's bridal shower. We were going to Puerto Rico. I just was like, there's literally not a moment in time.
And like I barely did not have any chill.
I really don't have chill until February 18th. February 19th. Okay. That's when I can chill again. I mean, I'm not saying I can't do a podcast until then, but I'm saying like even today, it's like, can we squeeze it in today or tomorrow? You know?
I know.
So, but anyway, this is episode 31, and this is about our person of the year, Taylor Swift. Yes. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Taylor. Sorry your party was so lame because Travis wasn't there. Just kidding. But he wasn't.
I think we said the same thing last year.
We probably did. But it's a new year. But she really is the person of the year. And so that is, guys, we are going to go through that article and hopefully pick it apart and give some new perspective and takes and thoughts that maybe you haven't seen before. Because it has been out for like a week or 2 weeks. I don't even know.
Maybe close to 2 now.
Yeah, I don't know what time is anymore. Time person of the year, time like a clock. I don't know. Can't keep track of it. So
yeah, wait.
No, I genuinely don't know.
When did You're Losing Me come out?
No.
I
have no idea. I really sometime in December, and it's December within the last 18 days for sure. For sure. And then because her birthday, right before her birthday was the Time article, because I was going to Puerto Rico, and I went to Puerto Rico December 7th or 8th. So it was literally like December 6th or 7th. This article came out. So we're at about,
what? It was because I remembered, because I think I put the podcast out like a couple days before it. And I was like, of course, there's already news and this is outdated. Like,
but that's okay. So I wanted to address this to maybe some loyal listeners or people that have listened sometimes. Obviously, a lot of the time what Steph and I do is we throw out like surveys and then we kind of go through those surveys. I feel like that's something that we do a lot of the time, or like more than half of the time, unless we have something to talk about. And like even one time I said like, oh, we're going to do a survey next, and we didn't. And we haven't done them in a while. And it's because like Taylor Swift, you think
she's
that
everywhere.
She can't do more, and she doesn't stop. She's giving us so much that it's like, we have to talk about this. We can't
I
send
know.
a survey out. We can't send a survey out
I
about
know
what your
because
favorite tracks are of something, because like when we need, like when we have to again, or maybe when there's a lull, if there ever will be one, we will do a survey again.
right.
Like we can't.
No, I know. I was thinking the same thing because I was like, it's well, obviously it's all good, but like it's good and bad in the sense that like, right, we used to have lulls where it would be like, all right, let's do track twos, track threes, and like kind of get that kind of a thing going. But obviously, right, there's been so much going on that we've not been able to do anything like that we used to. But I also think it's like kind of nice that there's so much stuff coming out, and maybe the way it's coming out, maybe more recently with like big things at a time, like because I feel like we also sometimes in our track, when we used to do surveys and things like that, we didn't get to talk. We talked about our own thoughts, but like not like
Right. Our
as much.
actual in depth, because we wanted to get through like our thoughts on what other people's thoughts are, as opposed to
Right,
like our own
exactly.
thoughts. Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like some of this the times with like this stuff and like even the you're losing me stuff, it was like, oh cool, like we're just gonna talk about what I think about this, or like, and we'll
Right.
see if everybody agrees. And like I feel like we don't get to do that so much when we do surveys because we want to hear what everybody else has to say.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And there still is a place for that, but
Of
this is
course.
just not the time, because
There's
what
no
is the
lull right
time?
now.
It's
There's
up to
no
you.
lull.
Yeah.
So we
There's no
can't.
lull. So, yeah, so I just wanted to address that if we have people who like wonder why we like stopped doing that for a little bit, and that's ultimately, I mean, I'm sure you put that
Yeah. I
together,
mean,
but
when you think about it, since she announced the tour, and then especially once the tour started, there's been so much to talk about that it
right.
just, because she released both version, like two Taylor's versions during the
Right.
tour, like, and then obviously now she's on camera every week
Yep.
at a football game. So like, there's just a
Yeah.
lot of things.
There's so many things to talk about. And yeah, and the last one episode we did together was the 1989
Mm-hmm.
Taylor's version, like the review and all of that stuff. So
Which was only
literally
a month and a half ago.
I can't believe, like, it's like there's been a whole nother lifetime of
I know.
Taylor Swift information. So Travis Kelsey going to her tour. Exactly, by the way, I just want to touch on this like briefly. Exactly, like things that we predicted would happen, and said, and if you go back to our, it's only the audio because our video cut out, but literally we were like, oh my God, when he goes to the tour, and I can't wait to see his reaction to everything. And there was something like spot on that we said. And by the way, in our episode before that, I think it was audio only, you or us or someone, we were talking about her singing Endgame and how freaked out we would be. And that's literally exactly what happened. And
And
then her mashing together, Is It Over Now and Out of the Woods, which, by the way, I said, I know that it's like obvious when you listen to it, but I had said in that episode, like, I haven't heard any online things. And I was like, something about Is It Over Now makes me think of Out of the Woods. And I'm like, I just felt so like vindicated. Like,
mm-hmm.
yes, I was right about something.
Also,
Crazy though. It's seriously a whole other like 1,000 things that we can't even talk about today because so much more has
I
come
know
out.
it's
Like
only been like 6 weeks.
we can't even
Like,
go into depth about Travis Kelsey and Mr. Swift.
no, they're best friends, but no, we can't go any much further than that. Except I will say, like,
We'll
what's
bring it
so
up
funny
when we
about
talk
that
about.
entire, like, him being at her show is that the one thing we all were like, if she gives us Endgame, like, even if he wasn't there, like, even if she had just done it as a surprise song in her
You're
first
freaking
shows
out.
back, we were like, we know she's like doing it for us to like confirm things. And we didn't even talk about it because
My
so much
God.
other shit happened while he was there that
This?
it was just
Like,
like,
Carmen's like, and
who
she's like,
cares?
what the fuck? It's
I know.
yeah, and now so much has happened since then
I
that
know.
we're not even.
They're like married now. So it's like
It's
not
like
even like catching up on, oh, are they together? Whatever. It's like, no, they're so solid. I can't even,
if we
what's to speculate about
truly
anymore?
like needed to do this as like a full-time job, like having a podcast, I mean, as opposed to we do it like once a month for fun,
Yeah.
we would have to legitimately at this point do it 2 times a week at minimum, maybe day, like we could
Uh,
have enough daily
yep.
probably if there were like 30-minute episodes, but like we would need 2 times a week to
I
break
know.
down everything. And I'm like, oh my God, like I feel like we're so far behind, but like then I'm like, all right, we're doing this for fun, like it's okay. But
Yeah. And we're also just going to pick the stuff we really want to talk about.
Right. But it's just it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. But
So
what we
insane.
will talk about, what I want to is I just had a few notes on Steph's podcast, Steph's solo podcast episode where she talked about You're Losing Me once we the lyrics, but also once we now are confirmed getting it December whatever of 2022 when they wrote it, or was it 2021?
2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Right. So 2021, when they didn't have the official breakup announcement until Easter, the day before Easter of 2023. But realistically, they probably were broken up like a month or two before that. But still, wow. So, Steph, if you didn't listen to the episode, honestly, you should go listen to it because it opened my eyes to so much. Now, there was a lot, I would say in the beginning that I literally I was listening to it. I'm like, same Steph, because we hadn't talked about it. Like how it's crazy and you realize, wow, so much on Midnights was definitely inspired by Joe. Now, my overall take and thesis of that, of the Midnights album now, is I don't think Taylor Swift ever lied. I do think these are things in her past, but also Joe at the time, like of her, it's like going through her old re-records and pulling new feelings about new perspectives of situations, including Joe. Like some of those songs,
Yeah.
maybe she's going back and to Reputation, re-recording it when she's first falling in love with him and realizing like, oh shit, it's not like this anymore. Oh shit, I miss when it was like this. Therefore, you get, like you were saying, Snow on the Beach was probably one of the good moments. She's probably going back through Reputation when they first started dating and she wrote Snow on the Beach because that's, Snow on the Beach is obviously back to when they first met. So I feel like there were some songs that you said like I don't know, like it could obviously still be about like Calvin Harris say because I see
Right. What
that.
we thought it was originally. Yeah.
I'm confused. I think you said Bejeweled, but I was like, oh, I don't know. I honestly thought it was like Jake Gyllenhaal, but I mean, like I'm sure like the Swifties, but I never knew the name. I never thought the name Calvin Harris when I listened to Bejeweled. I in my brain was always thinking Jake Gyllenhaal because of the line the band asked me, "Do you have a man?" And I can say I don't remember, which she literally said. With that was the "We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together" like connection to me. And
Mm.
on top of I Bet You Think About Me about like or All Too Well, sorry, like a shiny jewel whose shine reflects on you. And I'm like, oh, jewel be jeweled.
That's true.
So
We
in
did
my
talk about
brain,
that. Yep.
it was always Jake Gyllenhaal. It could be Calvin, like who knows? But regardless if it was Calvin or Jake, I think it still is about them. But I also think it is equally 1,000 billion million% about Joe. I think in her re-recordings, she is going back through and realizing, oh my God, he's making me feel like this again. Wow. Keep in mind, what was she re-recording when and releasing when she wrote this song? I Bet You Think About Me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, You're Losing Me. Like, so to
Yeah.
me, it's like, oh, she was going back through Reds. She's writing You're Losing Me and realizing this. And then you have Bejeweled referencing clearly things from Red. Also, though, You're Losing Me, because you say in how in the Great War and You're Losing Me, you get the like front lines, Don't You Ignore Me. But that also reminds me of like, Don't Put Me in the Basement when I Want the Penthouse of Your Heart.
Yep.
And so I'm like, this is all like, I think that I don't think she lied.
Yeah.
I think she obviously left half of it out because she had to tell Joe something because they were still
No,
dating.
I totally agree. And I don't even yeah, I definitely don't think she lied. I think Midnight's the concept of Midnight's is totally about exactly what she said. It was sleepless nights throughout her past. But I also do fully believe that maybe revisiting these things, like you said, through re-records and obviously the songs on the album, it sort of opened her eyes to like, wait a minute, why am I doing this again? Or like what?
Yeah.
And like similar. So I saw this the other day and I kind of mentioned it. I kind of mentioned Tolerate It slightly because I didn't want to get too far into
Oh, I
folklore
was
and Evermore because I didn't want to
no,
go like super far
same.
back.
That's when
Um,
you said it, I was like, "Yup." I thought the same thing before You Were Losing Me when I was listening to it or watching it on the Eras Tour movie. I was like,
yeah,
this is and my friend, old roommate Alex, who does not she's listened to Evermore before was there, she turned to me, not knowing anything. She's never heard You're Losing Me. She looked at me in the movie and she goes, "This is definitely about Joe. This is not." And I was like,
well,
And she even picked up on that.
Exactly. And I think I talked about like the barbed wire metaphor that she uses
Yes.
using
Yep.
invisible string. But then it's also like I saw someone mention it the other day. And obviously since we're all watching the Eras Tour movie and stuff, someone was like, how did we get tolerated as a track 5 and just say, oh well, she did say that these aren't all about her life,
Yeah.
so it's fine. Like, how did we all just be like, yeah, it's not about her particularly, it's probably, you know, just a feeling she could relate to at some time. And like, because even in folklore, obviously folklore's track 5 was very much her
Was my Tears
personal.
Ricochet about? Yeah.
Right. So
Well,
I
two
was like,
things.
I know, like, why did we act like this isn't something she's feeling?
Right.
Like,
I know we know this. You're absolutely right. Like how we didn't see it, but one, because you also got songs like Long Story Short in that, which were like, oh, she's so in love. And two, because she said like it was about this book about Rebecca something.
oh
What
yeah, Rebecca Harkness, that's right.
was it about Rebecca? I thought it was a different book, this Tolerated one, not Rebecca Harkness from Last Great American Dynasty. There's
Oh,
another
sorry,
book
not
I thought
Rebecca
you read.
Harkness. I couldn't
Different
remember who
Rebecca
was
there.
who, but there was a book Rebecca because I
Yeah.
read it.
Because you read it, right? So
Yeah.
I do think, again, I think she was telling the truth. I think she read that book and was like, crap. But I also think that's where maybe the cracks started to happen, like you said. And she wrote this song with such great like on point to that feeling
Awareness.
because
Yeah.
yeah, because she had some of those feelings. And of course she's not going to tell Joe that. Like
Well,
you
yeah, and
and it also reminds me, do you remember in COVID? And I don't think this was it at all. I really think this was just a coincidence, but it makes me think back to there was this one interview about Folklore Evermore, and it was like Jimmy Fallon or somebody, and she's sitting on her couch and she's doing this symbol, and people were like, "That's the symbol for domestic abuse. Taylor Swift is being abused, and she's
oh, I
doing the
don't.
thing with her hands." And I was like, "No," and I still don't think it. I don't think
Yeah, I was
that,
gonna say I don't want to start
but
spreading this.
no, 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 no. I don't think she was I don't think that, but I do feel like in that moment there were already like I really think she was just doing it like unconsciously. But
Yeah.
the reason I'm bringing it up is because it does make you think back to every little thing like you're saying that we miss, and it's like, "Oh,
Well,
they might have been
yeah, and
having
I
problems
think
since then."
and it's true because like and then even when you think about a song like I mean basically since Lover, which even Lover had its like, hey, I'm at fault or
Well,
like,
yeah,
you
because
know,
then you look back to Afterglow and you think back on Afterglow and you're like, "Oh my god, he has been twisting her mind. Hey, it's on me, just don't go." She's been apologizing because he's been flipping shit on her the whole time. Why was she so anxious in every single song?
well, right, but that's what I was gonna say because then like when you think about some of the songs on Folklore or like Peace, when it's
Yeah, yeah.
like that song is sad.
And we
It's
knew
basically
that.
like her it like when you think about it now, and also Peace has war references like Sit With You in the
Yeah.
Trenches, which seem to clearly be a lot of Joe related now. Um, it's like she already knew he wasn't accepting of that level of fame that she had had before and had in the past. And
Yeah.
like she's like clawing onto, yes, I am this different person now. I don't want that level of fame or whatever it is. But like she already knew in Peace that he would never be happy enough with her.
And
And
here's
it's
your card.
basically her like cry of like, I can't do anything about this, please. Like, just be okay with it. And it's like, God, now that you
Yes.
listen, when you listen to it, it's so freaking sad. But, oh, but like for Tolerated, I saw a bunch of people like lately they've been saying like, Tolerated is where you're at before you get to You're Losing Me. You know, like
Yeah.
in those relationships and how they can sometimes drag on much longer than they should.
Because she was so
It's
almost
like
begging for it. Like, I'm
you're
waiting by
in
you. You're just
you
a kid.
right, exactly. Like you're just trying to be noticed until you literally cannot take it anymore and you have to
Yeah.
go. So it's like, wow, thinking about timelines of when she wrote those songs
And
makes perfect sense.
also, shoot, what was I gonna say? Oh, but yeah, to add to that stuff too, when you then think back to like Bejeweled, like I said, maybe when she was rating like Tolerated and Peace and all those things, like she felt those things. And we can see that again, specifically in Peace, but she was saying it as this beautiful love song, which we now see differently. But we all are like a beautiful love song, which I still do see because you can
No, of
obviously
course.
interpret things differently. Um, but then you go back to Bejeweled, and again, you get You're Losing Me, and it's like, it makes sense because then you think of Jake Gyllenhaal. What did she write about Jake Gyllenhaal? Like, oh, your indie record, that's much cooler than mine. And oh, like, all your friends, they're
Mhm.
so much smarter than me and so much better. And I'm just a stupid girl that writes We Are Never Getting Back Together, which is
Yeah.
kind of the point. She's writing this frivolous breakup song because that's all Jake Gyllenhaal saw in her writing.
Yeah.
So once she's going back to re-record Red and she's like going back to I Bet You Think About Me, I feel like it's clicking in her brain. Oh my God,
I'm
Joe's doing
being
that to
treated
me.
the same way. Yeah.
Oh my God. Like that's how it's like eye-opening. And then she starts realizing, okay, maybe I don't want this anymore. Like I just it was hidden in, oh, he's the only one that loves me. He's the only one that sees something in me. So he must be the greatest thing ever. Where that also, and I don't know that Joe Alwyn did this intentionally. I just think that's where the can be the danger of, it's so beautiful that he was there for her and when she
Mhm.
was at her lowest, but there is such danger in falling for somebody
Yep.
when you're at your lowest because they can use that against you and be like,
Mhm.
"Well, I'm the only one that was here for you through all that. I'm the
Well,
only one that this." And that's like a key thing and like kind of I don't want to call him worse than he is because we're speculating, of course. And again, I think regardless, them falling in love during that time period is so amazing and like
mhm.
grateful for him for that. But at the same time, it's like I
No,
think
and
he
I
liked
do think like at the same time like it can be a lot less sinister than like kind of where we're going with it, but also
right,
the same thing. Like again, like you said, it's great that she had him when she was at the lowest point in her life. Like it's awesome that he was there for her. But at the same time, that was a point in her life when she didn't want to be out. She didn't want to
right,
be in the spotlight because people hated her for it, essentially. So I feel like even if it wasn't intentional, there was probably a long part of their, and then obviously she comes back with Lover into sort of like a limelight again,
out
and
into
like
the public
Reputation, but
again.
like Reputation was still like, I'm sure they were
It
still
was
very
just the
much,
tour.
yeah. And I'm
There
sure
wasn't
at the same
press.
time, they were very much still in their honeymoon, like,
Hmm.
phase where he's fine with a tour, right?
And he's
And then
seeing it
Lover
for the
comes
first time.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Lover comes around, she's only going to do 4 shows.
Yeah.
Weird, but okay. She's
Weird, but
only
her
going to
mom
do
was
4
also
shows.
sicker apparently at the time.
Right. And then like then COVID happens, so she's back,
So
you
they're
can't do
great.
anything. And I feel like it almost was like this could have come probably way sooner if, well,
The
also at the same
circumstances
time though,
weren't
because
in her favor.
COVID, like her pandemic albums really sparked her critical acclaim again, I would say. So
Right.
maybe it wouldn't have happened again, or I don't know. But I could see a decent amount of their towards the end of their relationship being, I thought you didn't want this anymore. I thought you didn't want this anymore, which like Joe saying it, right? Like I thought you
Right.
wanted to be out of the spotlight. What are we doing here? Which I can see like obviously as sort of a manipulative gaslighting type of
Yeah.
thing, but at the same time also just a, well,
Fair. We
you
just grew
changed
apart.
when we met.
Right.
I've always been this way about what I want.
Right.
And I can't, and like maybe like I can't do that.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be sinister, but I do think it really is just a shift
I think there
in,
is, yeah.
and but I think like it could have been sinister in the sense that like he made her feel bad for wanting to be
Yes.
herself again.
I think he definitely did. I
And
think
I
that you're
don't
absolutely
know,
right.
right, like and maybe it wasn't meant necessarily him doing it on purpose, but like she doesn't want to hide anymore. She's being
Right.
like she's going back to her true self, or if this is her
And
true self.
I
And
think
that's why
that's
she
so
kind of resents
fair.
it, like we kind of saw in the
Yeah.
article.
Yeah. And I think that's so fair. And I think that's there's absolutely truth to that and mostly truth to that, but I do think there are hints of her being sinister about it and wanting us to be like, he's not as great as you think, through obviously a few things like you were saying, the Kaylee Teller thing, like like waiting for this one, Jack Antonoff posting that picture. And then you also have, as you mentioned, I can't believe we never talked about it, but the anti-hero, like everybody feels like they're an art bro lately,
I had no idea it didn't even
talking
existed,
shit.
Steph.
Oh, and I don't know if you had mentioned this
Talking
too.
shit about your
Talking
famous
shit about your
baby.
famous baby.
Yeah.
Did you know that when they wrote that song, both Jack Antonoff's now wife, Margaret Qualley, and Joe Alwyn were
We're doing
filming a
movie, yeah.
moving together. So
Mhm.
people are like, oh my God, Joe was probably talking shit. And Margaret was telling Jack, who was telling Taylor, because that's when they were away writing that or filming the movie.
Yeah.
So I'm like, obviously, if not only is Jack writing that, but Taylor's letting him put it out. And then you have those other little hints. And Taylor Swift in the Time article, like, I hid away in a foreign country for a year, and a little shade to like having something so private in comparison to her and Travis being so public. There is but I do think it started with, okay, fair enough. You met me and I thought this is what I wanted, and I realized that I don't. And I think that's fair. I think that maybe Joe will eventually find somebody, and maybe, that wants to be private and they can live that life together. But at the same time, I do think that there is a little bit of like, Joe wasn't like the greatest.
Oh no, and
in the
I'm
world.
not saying it as if
Yeah.
he's like a saint. I'm more so saying it as like there might not have like really been a lot of malicious intent
Yes.
in all of it happening and how it went down. It was more so just, and even for her friends, right? Like they knew her before him, or most of
Right.
them, so they probably knew, yeah, you're not being yourself. Like, go out to dinner. Go do a pap walk. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it might not necessarily have been like, oh, he's like forcing you to be this way. It's just like her feeling like she is this way now because that's who she was when she met him. And it's like, but I also totally understand Taylor coming out of that and being like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't me. And now that I'm out of it, I realize how awful I was feeling about myself for the last 2-3 years, however long it was.
Yeah. But also what you said, and I literally, my jaw dropped because I don't know why I didn't put it together, because I saw it, the picture that Jack Antonoff posted, that the screw top rose is gaslighter rose. I saw that. I'm like, oh my God, that's so funny. But I didn't even put the maroon connection to it. And again, this could be something I just feel like it's too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence.
No, I totally agree. That's why.
And I do still think maroon like is still giving me hints of,
well,
some other maybe red, like whatever it is. But now I'm like, it's the same thing as I was saying. I do think that she put your roommate cheap ass screw top rose as a little mini Easter egg for if ever they broke up, to be like.
But also, Steph, I was thinking about it too, and like maroon wasn't one that I wanted to talk about because I felt like there was enough other things that would be
right
reasons. But at the same time, remember in our Midnights episode when we first listened to it, you were like,
it reminds me of Cornelia
It
Street.
reminds me of Cornelia Street, and I was like, well, it can't.
Why did it remind me of Cornelia Street? I don't even know.
I think dancing around and
okay,
feet,
yep,
bare feet, whatever, something like that.
Yep.
New York, obviously.
Yes, the New York. Okay.
But I think it would like we were like, well, I was like, well, I feel like they cannot be about the same person,
right? And then I also said in that episode at a certain point, I was like, are her and Joe okay? Like, how could she be writing these things and saying like, and I wake with your memory over me, that's a real fucking legacy. And then also things like, I'll be getting over you my whole life. And also things like,
no, I remember. Yeah. Cause
I remember I was like,
really
Steph,
personal.
and you're like, Steph, it's okay. I was like, do you think she talked to Joe before she released the album? Like then I go back and I'm like, oh my God, like I had every right to be that skeptical. Like my brain was definitely onto something.
Well, right. And then obviously this was hindsight because we just talked about this in our like last episode. But remember when I was like, when we were talking about all the new Vault songs that were so like, wow, she was way in deeper with Harry that we thought
God, with Harry Styles,
and I was like, oh, well, what if Midnights, this is why they broke up? Because he was like, I don't think you're quite as over.
I think he's still Harry Styles.
So like, yeah, I mean, it definitely was there that it was just like, there's wounds that are open.
Yeah.
And maybe, and maybe that's part of it. Like, with what we're talking about, right? Like she doesn't have wounds open from these past relationships, but maybe while she was writing Midnights, her current one was feeling like a lot of them.
Yeah.
So it felt
that's exactly
real and still in it, even though now maybe when she was seeing certain parts of it, it wasn't about the people she originally would have had those sleepless nights about. It maybe was about Joe, and that's why it felt a little bit like, is she okay? Like,
and why?
Is she good?
and she had to say past sleepless nights, even though they were kind of current.
Right. And maybe she didn't
Because
even realize they were current until she started writing it and was
right,
just like, ah,
right. It's because that is also what she says songwriting is for her. It's catharsis, and sometimes you don't know until you're expressing it. You're like, "Oh, wait,
yeah.
why is that the best line I've ever written? Like, do I feel this?
Right.
Am
Right.
I
Exactly.
experiencing this?" So wait, other things I wanted to talk about with this. The craziest thing, and what everyone I think should really listen to, because in the episode that you released solo, I should get your labyrinth take, Steph. I was jaw on the floor because when Is It Over Now came out, I immediately am like, oh, I'm vindicated about thinking, the timeline, sorry, because we already knew it. You're losing me, not Is It Over Now, but I always um mix up the names of Is It Over Now and You're Losing Me. I
Hmm.
don't know why, but I don't know. Anyway, when we got the timeline for You're Losing Me, I immediately was like, oh, Bejeweled, definitely. Oh,
The Great
now
War,
like the
probably
Great
maybe
War
something
hits
more.
different.
Yeah.
It's different. The anti-hero, like blah 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 blah, like Tolerate It, all makes sense. I never even thought about Labyrinth, and you blew my mind with what you were saying. Because first of all, for me, Labyrinth, I never really understood because I was like, what do you mean labyrinth in your mind? Like, what do you mean like what? What? Is this a love song? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand. Is it about and then I guess I kind of took it as like falling in love after a breakup, but then I was confused, always confused about the line like I'll be getting over you my whole life. And I think that in our original episode for Midnights, I was like, if this isn't about Joe, like is she still getting over someone, or are her and Joe gonna break up? Because what? Like, what do you mean I'll be
Yeah.
getting over you my whole life? I wouldn't want to hear that. If I was Joe, I wouldn't want to hear that line. You're still
Yeah.
not over an ex? I was always effing confused about it. The only and therefore maybe didn't ever really like love the song on top of it just being the kind of like sonically sounding
Hmm.
song that I don't love. But like you said, the Travis Kelsey thing just made me love the song all over again because you're when she's so smiley about like I'm falling in love again. Anyway, oh my God, re-listening to the song after your take on it, but also as Is It Over Now, makes so much fucking sense. That is
Hmm.
insane. That is totally what it's about.
I know.
And just to sum up what you said, if people are listening now didn't listen to the last episode, that ultimately it's like Taylor Swift getting on her lows with Joe, like they're in a bad spot, and the plane is going down, and then all of a sudden something switches and she's like, oh, I'm in love again. Like, okay, I can put this past me. I'm falling in love. You would break your back to make me break a smile. Like, just as I think that we're going to end, it's flipping around.
Something.
So it
Yeah.
speaks to the at least year and a half of her probably battling these feelings of him tolerating her and her feeling like she can't fully be herself, and like, is
Yeah.
Joe not letting me be myself? Is it me? Is it him? And I was like, oh my God, I have such, because of like what you said, I just never would have even thought about it that way. But that song always confused me. And now it is so perfectly clear what's it about,
Well,
what it is
I
about.
know. And it was so funny because that is the exact thing that like popped into my head while I was listening to it again after You're Losing Me came out, that I was like, I have to get my thoughts out because I feel
Yeah.
like this is, well, because also when she sang it in Argentina, I
Yeah.
was like, this is always what I thought the song was about. Like at the time when I first heard it on Midnights, I thought it was falling in love with Joe after having like series of terrible heartbreaks.
Right.
But I get exactly like you said, there were like parts of it that I couldn't really tie to
Yeah.
that. But at the same time, I was like, wow, the overall message is like, oops, falling
Yeah.
in love.
I'm just going to be
Uh-oh.
a little confused, but that's the message. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So then when like obviously when the like timeline came out for You're Losing Me and then I listened to it again, I was like, ooh,
Yeah. Because then it
I
also,
don't think that it was about a early on love with Joe. I think it was
but then
probably very recent.
yeah, because then it also makes me think, and I guess this is sinister. What we were like talking about before, that he's a bit of a mind twister. That he can
Hmm.
flip it when he wants to flip it. She's going down, and then psh, a mind twister, which then makes me think back to Maroon, the screw top rose, the gaslighter rose, which then makes you go back to the Great War, which then makes you think about Antihero with Jack Antonoff. Like it just all connects now.
Yep.
Where I at first it didn't all connect. So this
Yep.
song and getting the timeline puts so much of Midnight's together as opposed
It
to
does.
all these different things. It's like, no, 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 there's a fluid line. And Joe Alwyn, again, not saying he's horrible or not, but absolutely, or intentionally or not, is a mind twister. And possibly that gaslighter making Taylor again. And then you go back, like I go back to Afterglow. Taylor, you didn't have to apologize all the time. You're the one always apologizing. What's
Well,
that about?
yeah. Well, and I think that's part of the problem. And again, which is why I would say I would like if Taylor ever came out and more explicitly than she already kind of has been hinting at like feeling manipulated by him, I wouldn't be surprised, obviously, because I think it, and again, like I don't know if it's totally intentional, but sometimes people are just very like have that manipulator
Yeah,
ability and they don't even know they're
absolutely.
doing it. Cuz like Taylor probably felt like she had to apologize the entire relationship because he was overwhelmed by her fame and she was the one that was changing, quote unquote.
Right.
So she probably felt like anytime there's a problem, it's my fault because I'm not who I was when I met him anymore. And all the shit around me is things he doesn't like. So I'm going to apologize every single day,
Yeah.
which isn't how she should feel.
Because, and also he probably was able to capitalize on that because she's felt like that in other relationships, not like specifically Jake Gyllenhaal, but just she knows like I'm so much more famous
Yeah.
and rich and successful than you, Joe, that like it is a lot to deal with. It is a lot to
It
deal with for
is.
anybody. So there is truth in him feeling certain ways,
Of
but
course, which is why
he's
I'm
using
sure.
that, which is why it's
Yeah.
easy to then push that blame onto her, which isn't fair. Like, and now we see it, and people are always like, "Oh, why are you comparing it to Joe?" Like right now, we have reason to because of the song. But when we're talking about Travis Kelsey, the
Mm-hmm.
juxtaposition of those two relationships, you to truly understand why we people love people who are
Yes.
big Taylor Swift fans love this relationship so much, you have to put it next to Joe to be like, look at how Travis is handling the fame. He is very, very famous and was like a household name, way more famous than Joe Alwyn, but he is still handling this with so much more grace. And again, Taylor Swift is at her best right now, so there's a big difference in that. But just pushing all that aside,
Yep.
it's just like Joe could like I said this before. I feel like it's so clear that like Taylor was giving rather than like a compromise and meeting in the middle, and even like if Taylor had to give 60 because of her fame, it was like she was giving 90 and he gave
100%.
maybe 10%.
Yeah.
And that's where we're like, no, like it
Well,
doesn't matter. He can't, no matter where she started and how low she was, like uh, it's not, I don't know. But again, and they broke up because they're not right for each other, and good. And now they're both doing their separate things.
but
And so
also
fine.
agreed. But also at the same time, like it's one of those things where it annoys me that like maybe it's like a woman thing that like you feel like you need to stay to try to fix it
Yeah.
and but the man will not just be like it's not working, we're done.
Right.
He could have
Right.
broken up with her 3 years ago.
Right. When he knew like, oh, Taylor clearly wants to step out in the spotlight again.
Right. But again,
Because
I think
also,
COVID was like if COVID
right.
never happened, I think they would have broken up sooner.
Right.
But
But
like
also, do you
but agreed.
remember when they first started dating? And I don't know what interview this came in, or if it was a friend, or like it was a Tree Paine, like people thing. But it was in reference to Cornelia Street and in reference to the line. So it was about Taylor and Joe dating and how they got together. So like the story of Cornelia Street and how it was like, I thought you were leading me on, packed my bags, left my apartment before you even knew I was gone. But then you called, showed your hand before I hit the tunnel, whatever, sat on the roof, you and I. So like she was leaving and then came back and then they were sitting on the roof, whatever. And I remember the story behind that was Taylor said, um, you know, this is too much for us. Like, this was fun and everything, but like, let's break it off here. Like, this isn't going to work out because she was so damaged by her past and just like nervous. But they really liked each other. And like, Taylor Swift is the one that said, peace, I'm done. And he called her up. And like, this isn't only from, I just remember reading this in some interview or article. He called her up and said, no, I want to do this with you. I want to try. Basically said, like, we're not breaking up. We're not allowed. Like, she tried to break up with him and he said, no.
Yeah.
So, which is nice and sweet, but then also still now connects to that, like what you're just saying, like just break up. Like, she was giving you an out. Like,
And
she,
also glitch.
yeah, we were
I was
supposed
supposed
to
to
be just
sweat you out.
friends. Yeah.
We weren't supposed to
And
go
she
this far.
tried. And
Yeah.
he like brought her back. And that's not saying anything good or bad. It was just something I
No, I
thought
mean,
of
like,
as
I
you
think
were
at the same
talking.
time it was good because like it's someone that's fighting for her and she probably never even had that,
Right. And so
you
that, and
know,
there was
but
that, like,
like,
oh my God,
yeah,
he's
no, I
fighting for
think
me.
he probably has been apathetic or tolerating it, obviously,
For years.
for a long time. And she felt like she was the one that was changing. So she had to do more to
Yeah.
keep them together. When in reality, he could have just been like, you do your
Yeah.
thing. We can be done. Like, we
Yeah.
don't have to keep going.
Right.
Because clearly he didn't want to.
Yeah. No,
Whatever.
it's so true. And
Bitch.
then the note I had, oh, go ahead, what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead. Because I was just going to say something about Travis Kelce's Wall Street Journal article,
Oh, okay.
but we can get to it another time.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, my first note about the Time article is about Travis Kelce. So I just have like
Perfect.
two more comments
Yeah,
on
yeah.
your thing. The last one's really stupid, but this one, the Great War, I don't think you stated this, and you probably do know it, because I've seen it circulating. But just to add, so one, you also made me think so much more about the Great War. I was like, wow, yeah, I I didn't re-listen to it since you're losing me in the timeline. I'm like, oh my God, it definitely is more like everything that we've been saying. She's been trying and trying, and also, yeah, there's these like weird hints of like cheating.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, and I feel like I've seen it in a few other songs too, but yeah, maybe it was her. But with that, also what people say about this, and again, I don't know that you mentioned this in the podcast, but like I could be wrong. So also, she's like, oh, we survived the Great War. So she's maybe in a moment at a place where it's like, okay, we're in a good spot. But I actually think there's more nuance to it, where when she was writing the song, she knew like, okay, we're okay right now, but it's gonna happen again eventually, because the Great War is a reference to World War One, and it's what World War One was called. It used to be called the
Before the
Great
next
War
one.
until
Yeah.
World War Two, which was
Yeah.
worse and bigger. So you can't call it the Great War when there was a
That's a good
greater
point.
war after. So she obviously mentions this for a reason, not just calling it the Great War for shits and gigs, because there's direct references to World War One in
Yeah.
not just it being called the Great War. So why is she calling it the Great War other than it sounding nice? And there is a chance that maybe she just thought it sounded nice because it is a more beautiful phrase, the Great War, than World War One, like lyrically. Um, all throughout World War One, you know what I mean? Like
Well,
the war.
right.
But in that, it's like that's what people called it before they knew World War II was going to happen. So it's like she knew that there was this impending doom. Like,
Yeah,
this is
no,
how I feel now before World War II.
I could totally see that. I do, and because I never really thought of it that way, but that makes total sense. I could also see her getting a lot of shit for calling a song World War One or World War Two when she's talking
Yeah.
about fighting with a boyfriend versus like war. You know what I mean?
I guess, but the Great War is about war, and like there's other references, the poppy in your hair. There's a few
Right.
direct references to things that happened in World War One. I more so think similar to what you think, but like not because you get flack about comparing it to World War One or World War Two, which absolutely, but I just think like it would be stupid for her to call it something that like it just doesn't sound right. Like it's
Well,
just
right. I mean, yeah, the Great War is a better title.
yeah. So like it really could just be that, but I also think there's like this added.
There's probably a hint of it because I also think like again with the Great War, you know, she's in her head about things, the labyrinth that he's probably put her brain in if she
He's
thought
putting
he
her
was
into this
cheating.
confusion. She doesn't even know what to believe.
Right.
You are lost in the labyrinth of my mind. You are confusing the shit out of me, and everything is twisted into a maze in my brain because I don't know what the hell is real and what's not. Which mind
Right.
twister. That's what I'm
Exactly.
thinking. It's
But then
crazy.
also like with the whole like, cause she, again, with the like, maybe it was her thing where it was like a weird reference to like, I don't know. Now I'm looking at it as like, wait, did she think he was cheating on her? And then,
Yeah,
but then
I
like
do think
it
that.
gets cleared up in the song that like he wasn't, quote unquote. But then again,
No, he made
that's
her think that he
another,
wasn't.
well, that's what I'm saying. But like at the same time, like that's another instance where she's going to feel bad about that for a long time
Yeah.
for saying that.
Yeah,
Because
for even
she was
thinking it.
wrong.
Yeah.
And as someone who has done that before, where I've suspected and they've said I
Yeah.
was wrong, it's really vindicating to be proven right.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wouldn't be
absolutely.
surprised if it did happen because where there's smoke, there's fire.
Right. Where
So
there's no
I do
problem.
think like she probably, that was another reason it probably dragged or like drug along, or drug doesn't sound right, but dragged along longer than it should have because she felt bad about doing that.
Yeah,
Even
she
though
felt guilty.
like he made it seem like she was crazy for
Yeah.
thinking that, when it's like, no, you're probably right, girlfriend.
No, and you're right. That's
Something, he
exactly
was
why she
definitely
kept it.
checked out.
Yeah, she kept
Even
it
if he
going.
didn't actually cheat on you, he was
Right.
definitely checked out, you know?
Because then there's also the added like, oh my God, if he made her be like, oh my God, you're right. I'm sorry for ever thinking that. And then it's like, oh my God, yeah, because like if he cheated on me, why wouldn't he just break up with me? Like what? Like obviously it's my
Yeah.
fault, and now I feel really horrible because the only reason I ever got angry was because I thought he was cheating on me, but he wasn't. So I just messed up this whole relationship for what? So I'm never ever gonna,
So now I'm never going to bring up a problem
anymore.
again because we
Yeah.
survived the Great War.
And
Yeah.
I'll do anything to keep us together.
Mm-hmm.
And then she did
Totally.
it twofold, like you said in the podcast, like twofold, being the best girlfriend, whatever it is. And then you kind of see her losing me, like, and tolerate it. She's literally doing everything in her power. And then she's like, hold on a second. You're not, what? I can't be, am I getting punished for thinking that you were cheating for my entire life?
Right.
What?
Right.
And I have to,
Right.
it's like when Michael Scott in The Office catches Dwight going and meeting with Jan saying like I should be the boss, and he like, and then Jan tells Michael, so
Mm-hmm.
Dwight is like, I will literally do anything for you, and he's like, you have to do my laundry for a month.
Yeah.
I don't know why it reminds me of that, but then it's like, okay, so, or like for the rest of my life, or like whatever it is. I know it was a month, but my sentiment is that it's like, so like imagine Dwight for the rest of time and forever had to make up for that mistake. Like, no, there has to be an end point. And it seems like there wasn't. And that's when Taylor Swift was like, wait,
Yeah.
I didn't do anything that horrible. I just was like, I just
Yeah.
thought something. And really, if you do think something, like I have never been accused of cheating and never accused anybody of cheating. It would just be Ryan and I, but like I could only imagine that like if Ryan thought that I wouldn't twist it and make him like apologize for it for the rest of his life. I would be like, why do you think that? Please let me show you everything in my like if I really didn't do anything wrong, like let me show you everything in my power to make you understand, and I'm so so sorry that you didn't realize that. Like, I'm just like thinking of like a random thing like me like me and my coworker, like, oh my God, like I totally get why you think that. I am so 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 sorry. I'm just thinking because I was texting my one coworker about gifts to get for a student for that I was telling you I went to Target
Mm-hmm.
for, who has cancer, and he was telling me all the books to get. That would never let it, that's just what's popping into my brain. Like, I'm so so sorry. Here's everything. Let me show you everything. And then when he finally would eventually be like, "Oh my God, you're right." I would never make him feel bad about it for thinking it. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, "Let's make sure you never feel like this again." And not that I would do anything different because it was innocuous, but I would never ever 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 punish him, like depending on the situation. Like I just can't see in my brain punishing him for thinking that. Like I would feel guilty that I made him think that.
Well, and that's where it would happen. He wouldn't be punishing you, right? It
No,
would
no,
be
I would be punishing him. Like
no,
I'm
no,
Joe
no,
Wall.
yes. But your punishment would, and again, like if you handle it the right way, it's total, like you can
Right.
obviously get through it. But like it's like, why don't you trust me enough?
Yeah, that's
That
what
would
I
be
mean, though.
your question. But right, but you would go about it as what happened to make you not trust me?
Right.
Let's
What
make
was
sure
I
that
doing
doesn't
that made
happen
you feel
again.
weird? Yes.
Right. Versus like someone being like,
Why?
oh, I can't believe
How
you
dare
you don't
you?
trust me after
Exactly.
all of this. Like,
Yeah,
what?
and
I've
that's
never done
yeah.
anything. Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what
Like
I'm saying,
it's
the big difference is, like, I would be
right.
like, "Oh my god, what did I like, how can what the heck happened? Like, what?"
Yeah.
And it's just I really think that adding to the cheating thing, I saw somebody say Taylor Swift is messy, but she never name drops. You could see in her facial reactions and these little hints that she gives us, we can kind of usually piece together what's happened. The only time she's name dropped is all the way back in your like Joe Jonas days and like Taylor Lautner, but like even barely. She'd be like the werewolf. Dear John, but she always said like, oh no, it's like a breakup letter. But she did either picture to burn or you should have said no.
Should
I
have
think
said no.
no. And it was like, is she worth it? And then she
Yeah.
pulls back, doesn't speak, and just like wags her finger and or she just shakes her head
Mhm.
like she wasn't worth it. And to everybody, it seemed clear like, wait,
Oh.
that was personal. Like it wasn't
Yeah,
like
what'd he
personal. Like
do? That's what everybody
you,
thought
yeah,
when we saw it. It was what did he do? But then you
yeah,
never really got
yeah.
more.
So now it's like, wait, what? Wait, what?
TS11 is going to be very interesting
Out of control.
because that is going to have maybe some of the spiciest songs, hopefully, that we will ever get from her. And at the same time, might reveal some like crazy truths about her
Almost like
relationship with Joe.
I like almost hope it's like a reputation in a different light. So you have a reputation is this falling in love, sexy, whatever. Like you get your so it goes, you get your dress. And the other half is this like revenge, like badass bitch. I kind of hope it's the same vibe where it's like, oh, sexy, sexy, Travis Kelsey, love, but like a hint of edge, like sexy
Mhm.
edge, love, just like we kind of saw with Reputation, but like elevated. And then the other half was like, I'm angry. But now it's like, I feel like she's still gonna be there's gonna be that edge to this next album, but instead of about Kim Kardashian and like her reputation,
Right.
it'll be about that. Like I hope it's like the edge. I hope it's a very edgy album.
And I think it will be. And
I
and
want edges, a perfect octagon with a lot of edges. Hexagon,
Octagon, like
what's
my
10?
house.
Um,
But I do
yeah.
agree, and I think it will be. And I think there's going to be like two different things, like especially since because we all thought she must have written "You're Losing Me" after they broke up. The fact that that was written a year before, more than a year before they broke up, means we haven't gotten the true breakup songs.
Nope. You're
That
right.
was
Oh my God,
her.
I didn't even think of that.
I know.
This is a year and a half before they broke up.
Yeah.
They were
So
truly the
like
vault songs, not what
it
we thought
wasn't
maybe it was
oh, I wrote
a
this
quick
last, but we're going to
yeah,
say it's in the vault because I want everybody to know and I want to be
yeah,
done. It
yeah.
wasn't a breakup
So
song.
right, we don't even know what the breakup songs
So I
are.
think it's going to be edgy as hell.
You
And the
know
fact that she hints at some of that in her Time interview,
okay, that's okay. Perfect transition because it's
I
the
think is
first
also why it's going to be edgy because she clearly feels a big way about how much time she wasted.
oh yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the Time interview. Right? Are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Are we ready for it? Okay. So, first of all, Taylor Swift is Times Person of the Year. So well
So
deserved.
well deserved.
Insane that she's like I think one of the if not the only like musician like this to ever be awarded Time Person of the Year because it's what it is most influential person. Like literally, I'm not comparing her to these people. I'm just saying what I think is crazy is that like Putin and Hitler also won. Not Putin, yeah, Hitler and Stalin won Time Person of the Year. Because we were talking, I was like, what? And they're like, it's not influential in a good way. It's just like the most influential person.
Yeah, I mean
Oh my
Putin was in the like
Putin was in
list.
it. I meant
Yeah.
Stalin. I meant Stalin and
No, no, no,
Hitler.
right. But like obviously it's not always good if Putin was
Yeah,
one
if
of the
Putin's in it,
finalists too.
exactly. Two, what some people are getting so much flack for is, or giving Taylor Swift flack for, or the Time flack for, is that there's obviously huge things that we're not going to talk about going on in the world right now that were like nominated, but it was so stupid of them to nominate it because this was obviously sparked one all the way back, we know, in July when she was at the writer or he was at the concert, and
Yeah.
two picked in September when she's before any of the crazy things that are happening in the world. So
I saw
it's
that
insane.
too.
it's insane that they would even do, like, they were setting themselves up for
I didn't
criticism.
even realize they put them. They put that
Yeah.
in the. I didn't realize they were in the consideration. Honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't realize the
Yeah.
conflict was, but because I did see that too. But then I remember because then people were like, "Oh, it's so crazy because Ukraine won it last year," and it was like, well,
Right.
the
That
Ukraine
happened
Russia
in,
thing
like,
started
January,
early
February, yeah, like,
last year.
early in the year, yeah.
Yeah, like
So, people
the
just need
Israel and Palestine stuff didn't really
yeah.
pop off until like a few months
October
ago.
it was October 7th, which
Yeah,
was after Taylor Swift was our, and of course there's conflict years and years before them, but the reason it was like
right.
brought up in conversation was because of everything that happened October 7th and on. So if that had happened earlier, I'm sure that's what would have whatever. But the people that are like giving Taylor Swift shit for it, it's like this is literally not this is this interview was done in September.
Yeah. No, I
But
agree. And it's also like maybe I'm just on the wrong side of like Twitter. But like I feel like I'm seeing more and more of like bullshit again.
oh my Steph,
And
I
especially from
hate
like the football stuff. Obviously we were starting to get it when she started dating Travis Kelce, but like I'm getting annoyed again.
Steph, I haven't stopped being annoyed. It's only grown, and a lot of mine is from Swifties, and I don't understand why these things are
Yes,
posted
no,
on
that's
my
what I mean. Like it's Swifties on Twitter.
how long. I feel like I and like you've agreed, but I feel like I look at it that stuff more. I've been saying for over a year, like Twitter Swifties, I like insane. And I used to say it, and I still think when I go under something about Ariana Grande, and there's like Taylor Swift fans like just dragging her, like what? Or it's insane.
Beyonce.
Stop.
Yeah,
They're so negative, and they talk shit about like TikTok Swifties, and it's
they do. I saw that. Well, so
like
here's
saying
the
that
thing
they're
like
cringy or they're this or that. Like, no, no, no. I'm sorry. The Twitter Swifties, this isn't everybody, but like everything that pops up, like the big accounts are so negative. Each one is ripping Taylor Swift apart for a different thing. So if Taylor Swift sees what I'm seeing, it's like 10 negative posts from her biggest fans and like one good one. Like it's
I
it
know.
is
Well, because I was never really like on Taylor Swift Twitter.
yeah.
But once she started dating Travis Kelce, Twitter was the best spot for like real time
Yep.
updates.
Yep.
So I did start to see more of them pop up on my feed. And some of them are still like some of them are tweeting the same things that I would think like, why are you calling yourself a fan if you hate her? Like you clearly
Yep.
don't like her. What's going
Yeah.
on? But yeah, I'm just like, I'd rather be on TikTok where people are just dancing to her songs. Like you guys are kind of
Yeah.
assholes.
And you know what's crazy is what I saw, not with a lot, but like a good amount once I started. Like, I always, if I get angered by something, I always have to read the replies.
Hmm.
I never reply myself. I'm almost at the point where I want to start replying on our like thing and
Oh,
just
I literally was almost
be
gonna
your
be like, I'm
bitch.
gonna take over our podcast account and really start using it.
No, can we? Because
No, I think we
nobody really
should.
follows us anyway, and I just want to like put people in their places. Like, I
No,
just
I
want to put
agree
people
because
in their
there's certain
places.
things that I'd seen and I'd be
So
like, I just want to say something. And
stupid.
then I'm like, well,
They're
I'm
so
not saying something on my
stupid.
normal Twitter account.
Yeah,
So
no, no,
I
yeah.
thought the
I
same
think we
thing. I was
should.
like,
We
should
could
I
even
just use
take
my
our
podcast, like the
yeah, we
podcast
could
account and just start going?
yeah, we could even take our faces off of it, but like I don't even care. I just want to put
I
people
don't
in their
care.
places for so many reasons.
Agreed.
They are so oh, but what I saw is a lot of them are young and like I mean
Yes.
18 to like some 12, but like 16 to 18 and like you could be incredibly intelligent at 18 and like smarter than I am at 18. Like I know that. I know some of my students that are 18 are like just brilliant. But it's like this and even 20-year-olds, like some college students, you get this like false sense of
I know everything.
intelligence
Yeah.
where they're just throwing in these words, not even like big words, but just like talking points that they think that they're right on and are like,
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift must speak about this or that. Or they have this like, they're like, well, I don't know, they just think that they're smarter than they are. And then you see
Yes.
how old they are and they're like, oh, they're just in that phase where they think like, because I'm like a senior or because I'm in like AP or because like I'm in college, I'm so educated and
Yep.
woke. And it's like, no, 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 no. Not everything's black and white. And a lot of people think everything is black and white. And it's absolutely
Also,
not.
I totally agree. Also, one to your point about the young thing. Someone on a Twitter account that I think was the
Osama
is a
bin Laden.
stand account. No, no, no.
Did you see that? That's
No, I didn't. I have no clue what you're talking.
okay. I'll tell
But
you after.
they saw like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants kind of did a reunion because America Ferrera was doing like the Barbie, she had a Barbie party or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I
But
don't know that. I just know she was in Barbie.
like Alexis Bledel and then Blake Lively, America Ferrera, and I don't remember the last one. But the four of them were together like this, like literally within the last day or two. Some Twitter account that like had Taylor Swift in their profile picture was like, oh my God, Blake Lively and Alexis Bledel together. I never thought I'd see the day. And everybody was like, the fact that you don't know what Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants is
Just really
means you are
aged
too
her.
young.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And then also, though, what I will say on top of that, not necessarily the same as the young thing, but you can hide behind not putting yourself as the focus on your Twitter account. You can't do that on TikTok unless you never show your face.
Right.
So these people are saying whatever they want with Taylor Swift as their profile picture.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. There's no right. And they
Yeah.
don't realize though that like you're not getting any consequences, but what you're saying has an impact on other people.
Yeah, for
An
sure.
impact on Taylor Swift could start a false narrative, and yeah, and so yeah,
And there's just fucking weird too with some shit, like with the
so
Travis,
weird.
like some of the
It's
Travis
so
Kelce
weird.
stuff. I'm like, guys, stop.
Yeah, if you
You're
guys
being
are like,
so
what the hell are
strange.
you talking about? Because like we're not giving examples. Just go on. Just you have to look for yourself because I don't even want to give light to some of the
No.
crap that's being said. But an example of what I'm talking about with the young, because like again, I love that there are young Taylor Swift now fans now, and that there's a new generation. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
what I'm talking about of this like fake like intelligence that really actually I believe also as a teacher like speaks to the surface level education and or not education, surface level knowledge that they are getting because they
Mhm.
don't have to like like really internalize a lot or understand that not everything's black and white. The Osama bin Laden's like letter to
Oh, that
something
bullshit.
and it got released and all the Gen Zers started saying that they like agreed with Osama bin Laden. And it was like trending all over TikTok, this like letter.
Okay, I
That's
thought for some
my
reason you were
example.
referencing that as something specific that went on Swiftie Twitter, and I was like,
No,
oh, I
no,
don't know what
no.
happened, but no, I know
No,
what you're
it's my
talking about.
example
Yeah.
of how like this is
Yes.
an extreme, but that is kind of what this generation is doing. And like
Mhm.
people that age on Swiftie Twitter are doing the
Right.
same thing. Like ugh,
Yeah. It's
you Osama bin Laden had points. How do you think he go read what's it called? The Mein Kampf. Like
I was gonna say Hitler was the
a
most influential
really
person.
yes, Hitler was a brilliant man. That doesn't mean he was a good person
Yeah.
or right.
It's
It's called
it's insane.
it's crazy that they like can't see past they can't see past those things. And I am blanket state like not everybody's like that, but enough that it was trending. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's I think similar but to a lesser extreme of what is happening on Swift Talk or Swifty Twitter, not Swift Talk, sorry.
Yeah. No,
These
I
younger
agree. It just seems
generations.
like people are like turning on her again, even though and it's people that are supposedly her fans. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
can we
It's so
chill?
bizarre.
Like, let's just have like fun. I'm so sick of this shit.
I know, just have fun. So, speaking of having fun, first note I want to talk about for the Time article is sorry about that rant.
Speaking of having fun, Osama, let's talk
Osama. Now, listen. Speaking of having fun, okay, Taylor Swift
Summer should be
obviously
fun. Like Summer House. You didn't
I
watch
never
Summer?
watched Summer House, so I'm not a Bravo girl, if that's Bravo.
Summer should be fun. Amanda, not fun. They're
Is
married
that
now.
okay. Um, so one thing I have a question, and I think this I have also an answer, but half answer. When Taylor Swift mentions Travis Kelce in this Time article, a couple like there's a section about them dating, which is amazing and beautiful and like wonderful. And she's like, yeah, this all started when Travis adorably called me out on his podcast, blah 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 blah. And I thought it was metal as hell. What the hell does that mean?
Okay.
I'm literally so confused.
I like looked it up.
I'm so lost in the sauce on that.
I have to look it up again.
Because while you're looking it up, my other thought that I was thinking,
I think it's like something like Calling someone or something metal is not new. In slang, metal can be used to describe anything cool, awesome, or hardcore.
Okay.
So I think it was maybe like to me when I read it, I was like, is she saying like it was bold?
Yeah.
Like a bold thing to
I guess
do?
that's kind of what I thought, but it was just so an odd word choice, which makes me think that like
Ooh, sorry.
the,
I saw
that
another one. Usually used to describe a gesture or action that requires some guts but pays off in a major way.
so now it's kind of confirming what my other thought was, which is like I basically guess I thought that, but it's an obvious like standout word that a lot of people are like, what about? But she loves a double meaning. And
Mm.
so when we're talking about an edgy album, and we're talking about it being edgy because like how cool her and Travis and the edge and like, ooh, I just feel like there's gonna be angst and edge and sexy and this and that. I feel like that's a little bit of a nod to the sound. I don't think she's gonna have a full metal album, but I do think it's gonna lean more in what people have been wanting after we got a little bit more of a hardcore album, not like similar to Reputation, but maybe even a little bit farther down that road of intensity.
I could see it. And
Why is
now
she using that word? She doesn't do things
yeah, that's
like that
true.
without
But then
intention.
also at the same time though, do you see all the astrology stuff going around right now?
No.
Oh,
I saw
because
months ago like how perfectly their charts line up.
oh no, not about them, about how the next album is going to be something related to astrology.
No.
Because the password on all of that stuff that was going on, I don't know what it was actually. Oh, maybe when there was some sort of code people were trying to break last week,
Okay.
and the password ended up being Sagittarius, which is
And
her
she's a
sign.
Sagittarius? Yeah. And she's been saying Sagittarius a couple times.
Yeah, and then like her new collection on her merch site is called All the Stars Aligned. Taylor Nation is pushing Mastermind, that kind of stuff. And then her dress at her birthday party was moons and
Yep,
stars.
yep.
So
Okay.
everybody is thinking it's some sort of like nod to like the next era being some sort of like star sign,
Yeah, for
whatever.
sure.
But either way, the only
I mean, the
reason I
metal
would
thing could
think,
still be true. I'm talking more
yeah,
so
oh
about the
yeah, for
sound of it.
sure. But at the same time, the only reason I don't know if we're gonna go full like
I don't think it's gonna be a
Reputation
metal, but
or
yeah, yeah.
even more like a little more hardcore than Reputation is because at the same time that I'm expecting sexy songs about Travis Kelce, I also feel like there's going to be a softness to it
Mhm.
because I genuinely feel like she will try to frame his songs as more the one, like for her, the person for me, my soulmate, than she ever did
Right, with
before.
Joe. Like, she needs to take it a step farther to
She wants it to
separate,
be
to
more. Yeah. Which
distinguish
would make
those.
me think maybe it's going to be a softer
Yeah,
sound, but at the same time, no clue. Like,
right,
obviously, I don't know. But like to
right.
me, I
No, I
feel
know.
like because especially with all the Tree Pain stuff, like I feel like there was definitely other things they were targeting Dumois for, but at the same time, to call out like like the they got married thing, it's
Yeah.
sort of like is she not wanting to taint a future wedding
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
marriage by someone throwing out rumors that she's done it before.
Yes, with the tree pain thing though, too, what came right before that though
Mhm.
was a post about
The miscarriage.
yeah, which
No,
I
totally.
think
And
yeah,
I think obviously, and I think I might have said it in
you
the
might have, you
episode,
might have.
but I was like, I know obviously, like I think that's what Tree Pain was referring to, but she's not going to quote tweet that and
Exactly,
get
yeah,
bring more attention to it. But
right.
at the same time, I feel like I could see, and like I could see her trying to rewrite history a little bit and being like, no, this is the man for me. He's
Yeah,
always
no, absolutely.
been the man for
And I
me.
do think it's not real. Like, I think because like, why would she say you and I wouldn't marry me either?
No,
Um,
it's not real. You saw
yeah,
her songs shift from I can't wait to marry you. I'm gonna have your child
yeah,
to everybody wants me to be a bride.
right,
I wouldn't marry me either.
right, exactly. So,
I don't know.
but yeah,
It's
I loved, though that she like talked about the relationship and said those great things, but then there's also, of course, the shade to the
Joe.
privacy of Joe, but without saying Joe's name and then whatever. It was
Yeah,
I just loved everything she said
I just
about
think
Trav.
genuinely like and this is what I was going to say about his Wall Street Journal article because he mentions her in it too. Like I genuinely think, and she said it too. She's like, we're just proud of each other. Like we're supporting each other,
Right.
and I think it's so nice to see that, and like to see how different it is for her, but also in every way that it might have been lacking with Joe, like in terms of like he was bold to try to get her attention. He knew the fame he was walking into. In the Wall Street Journal article, and like now we know there was like a good chunk of time, like 2 months, basically, probably a
You
little
were
less than
right.
2 months of like them talking with no one knowing. Like and he said in the Wall Street Journal article, I was just trying not to screw it up. And I just feel like that is so sweet.
It
Like
is.
and like not trying not to say the wrong thing that would make her run away. And I feel like he was playing off of how protective she had been in the past of like all of these things. And people have been kind of calling that out too. They're like, it's so funny because like Travis will be like, I want to, okay, from now on, I'm going to keep my like personal
Stuff
relationship private. And
then
then
talk
she's just
about
going to
it.
kiss him. And like Karma's the
Yeah,
guy on the
yeah,
Chiefs.
yeah.
Like, that's my man. Like, and like
Yeah.
she just goes crazy.
He did then say though, like, no, he said to Jason, he's like, because you never want to talk about it. He's like, no, I'm going to talk about the things that are obviously already public, but I'm not going to give you
Yes,
more than what
exactly.
people already know. Like, I'll comment on
Exactly.
that.
And I think he's been doing a really good job at that. But I do
Yes.
love that like they both mentioned each other, but then
Yep.
also like,
It's equal. It's, it's an, it's equal.
yeah. And then, and they both talked about each other and like when he mentioned her, it's like, oh, I love this song or like, I love this album and like kind of talking about what she does. And then when she mentions him, it's, oh yeah, like I just like, I'm going to go support him. Like turns out I like football. Like it's not like they're talking about each other in the context of like, oh, here's what I feel like I like about him because of what
Right.
he's doing for me or like what she's doing
Right.
for him. It's more like, here's the
Oh,
public
I
things that they
love,
do and what I
yeah.
really like that they do. And like, here we are just being proud of each other and like
So
supporting each other. And it was just great. It was like, I was like, this is perfect. I really was so shocked that he even was mentioned
I know. I really, same. Because
because
she does,
I could have totally seen her being like, let's not go there.
right.
But I
And
loved it.
and it was in September too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is before everyone knew, like, crazy. But I just want to note, we were right when we broke down the timeline and we're like, they definitely started talking
After
because
the
of that
podcast.
podcast
Yes.
and met. And so Taylor Swift also mentions in the article, like, people had to be absolutely psychotic to think that that was our first date and that we would
Yes.
hard launch our first date. Like, please. And we literally said that in our podcast. I was like, first of all, why would they do that? Not like hard launch
Literally
first date, but
never.
not only, it wasn't even a first date. Why would the first time that they're meeting, even though they met the night before, she meets his mom and like it's not a date because she's watching him play football? That's not a date.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? And I'm like, damn,
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift listens to our podcast because like she was like, people would be psychotic, and
She knew.
you know, like that's what we agreed with you. We agree with you.
Yeah.
But moving on. So I took, well, unless whatever, but I took screenshots of my favorite parts.
Mm-hmm.
And like reasons why they're my favorite parts. Unless I don't know if you did that too or what, but
No, I didn't. Let's just
yeah.
let's go for it.
Yeah, so this next part, and it is like relatively in order. So I started doing this a couple pages down. But I just want to say the writer was amazing at adding
Really good.
so good at adding context, her or his, I forget if it was a guy or girl, but like analysis and whatever to it, and did so many things justice that I was just like so happy with it. One of the things, ultimately, I feel like the writer is like capturing in a certain part why she's not overrated in the paragraphs, because so many people say that, and like they say that they've said that before she was this famous, they say it now because she's so big when
Yeah.
she is not. And I've had like arguments in my personal life about people being like, oh, she's overrated. She literally isn't. So
No.
I'm gonna start with that. I'm gonna read the quote. So Swift's accomplishments as an artist, culturally, critically, and commercially, are so legion that to recount them seems almost beside the point. As a pop star, she sits in rare fields company alongside Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, and Madonna. As a songwriter, she has been compared to Bob Dylan, Paul McCartney, and Joni Mitchell. As a businesswoman, she has built an empire worth by some estimates, over $1 billion. And as a celebrity who, by dint of being a woman, is scrutinized for everything from whom she dates to what she wears, she has long commanded constant attention and knows how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a quote from Stevie Nicks. I don't give Taylor advice about being famous. Stevie Nicks tells me she doesn't need it. But this
Mm-hmm.
year something shifted. To discuss her movements felt like discussing politics or the weather, a language spoken so widely it needed no context. She became the main character of the world. If you're skeptical, consider it. How many conversations did you have about Taylor Swift this year? How many times did you see a photo of her while scrolling on your phone? Were you one of the people who made a pilgrimage to a city where she played? Did you buy a ticket to her concert film? Did you double tap on Instagram, post, laugh, tweet? Quick headline about her. Did you find yourself humming Cruel Summer while waiting in line at the grocery store? Did a friend confess that they watched the clips of the Eras Tour the night after on TikTok? Or did you? So I want to break this down for a second. This perfectly, to me, encapsulates the first paragraph. Are you okay?
Oh yeah, I was reading it.
Oh.
Sorry.
I thought it was one of your cats jumping up again.
No. I was reading it on my other screen.
Yeah. So I think it perfectly encapsulates, like, when we say she's not overrated, like, you could argue that she doesn't have the greatest voice in the world, or that she's not the greatest dancer in the world, or whatever it is. But think of all of her feats in different categories.
Yes.
She is being compared to the best of the best pop stars. Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, Madonna, the best songwriters of our time, Bob Dylan, Paul McCartney, Joni Mitchell, businesswoman. So, and then on top of that, how famous she is because of those things. So to say that she's overrated, please tell me one other person in her category, female or male, that can hit all of those marks and be that out of this world, off the charts, known as one of the best for it. She's not overrated. She's not overrated at all. And it's almost like people who say that, to me, it shows their ignorance and, in some cases, lack of like intelligence. Like, it really should be ignorance rather than like lack of intelligence. But still, how could you possibly say that if you actually know everything that Taylor Swift has done and see what's going on in the world? Are you ignorant and maybe not that smart, or are you just angry for some hate women? Like, I don't know. What is it?
Probably that. No, I totally agree. And like, also, she's a billionaire, but she doesn't have a cosmetic line. Besides merch she sells,
Yeah.
she doesn't do like a clothing brand. Like, you know, she didn't do some of the other things. Like, I think about Selena Gomez. She's a billionaire.
Yeah.
But that's not just from her like
Right.
music alone,
Right.
right?
And there's
Like,
nothing wrong with that
no, not at
necessarily. But
all.
again, it's just
But it's
saying, like,
also just
this is
like,
why she is where she is right now. This is why she's getting these accolades. Like another person who's so successful, like Rihanna, has every single thing Rihanna puts out is effing awesome.
Turns to
I love
gold.
Rihanna's
Yeah.
music. Turns to gold. And she also has, of course, Fenty Beauty, which is putting her money wise. But like Rihanna, again, there's nothing, like, what she does is amazing, and I'm not like taking anything away from that. But like Taylor Swift, if they're saying like, oh well, Rihanna deserves X, Y, and Z over Taylor Swift. No. But like, Rihanna isn't the songwriter and the crafter, like the craftsman. Rihanna isn't that like Taylor Swift is, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that is why Taylor Swift is getting Time Person of the Year. It's not just she's the biggest pop star. You can't compare her to only pop stars, because she's more than a pop star. She's way, and not more than as in better than, but she's here because she wears many different hats. But because it all sort of spits out in her music, because it's in one way,
Yep.
people are like, why her over blah 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 blah. Well, there is, and I literally wrote a little mini paragraph next to each of my points. So there's nobody out there who's writing, creating, producing as often, as much, or as well as Taylor Swift. Her creativity, her intelligence, her work ethic, combined with her humanity, her class, her grace, and her relatability are absolutely incomparable to anybody during this time. I am not well versed enough to say past times if anybody put out, like, think of all the in the year of folklore evermore, in less than a year, how many songs she wrote and how often,
Mm-hmm.
how quickly she was writing, on top of then re-recording, because then she put out Fearless that a few months after that.
Yeah.
And she is not only writing, but also has a hand in the producing and the music and all of the melody of everything. Nobody's pumping out that much right now. Like, I'm not saying ever, but right now, and that well crafted.
I was gonna say the quality. Yeah.
The quality of it, I'm sure there are people that are doing it, but like I remember, again, I love Ariana Grande and I love her music. I love it. I really do. I like listen to her music all the time and I love her albums. I love Thank You Next. I love Sweetener. But she was doing that. She released Thank You Next and Sweetener, I believe, within 1 year. And it's great, but it's not lyrically, like, you could like the music better and that's fine. And I wrote, like, you're allowed to say it's not my type of music. That's fine. But to like, nobody else is doing it, all of those things. Like, Taylor Swift is doing all of those things to a genius level ultimately,
Mhm.
where like anybody that's doing producing that much music in 1 year and 2 year and 3 year and 4 years isn't doing it, doesn't have as many parts in as Taylor Swift does. Like, she has a part in every single aspect of her music.
Well, yeah, and I think about it. Well, mainly because I guess maybe because Connor and I talk about it a lot, but like Noah Khan is to me a comparable
Person?
songwriter
Yeah, because he writes all of
because
his own stuff.
his songs can hit
Yeah,
so deep, but at the same time, he's literally already said, "Can I just keep releasing the same album over and over and just put different people on it as features?" And he's already done so many of his
right,
songs that he already released, but just with Gracie Abrams or like
right.
Post Malone or whoever just being added to them because I feel like he's almost already thinking like, "Uh-oh,
Yeah, like, that's a lot of work
I don't
and,
have
like,
any more creative juices
yeah.
left to spit more of this out." And like not saying that he won't because obviously I hope he does
Right, I'm
because
sure
I
he
love
will.
him. But like I think Taylor Swift releases an album and then the next day is like,
She's already writing.
I had this dream. Here's a banger. Like,
Yeah,
should I get my next album out? Like, it's
yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. It's her consistency and, like, the way that her brain, it's like, it's not like, she, to me, and not to me, like, to me personally, but to me by any standard, she is producing a genius amount of work. The only person I can think of that produced that much crap, I shouldn't say crap, you know what I mean? That much stuff, that much music, lyrics, like, writing. And I know there's probably more than this, but like, the only thing I can think of is Shakespeare having like the 140 sonnets and having all these plays, and people questioned how much he wrote at the time because they were like, oh, he had to have help. He couldn't have possibly written
Did this all.
all of those
Yeah.
sonnets, all of those things by himself. Like, that's way too much for a person to do. And I feel like Taylor Swift now, over 500 years later, less than 500 years later, is getting the same sort of critique. Like, well, people that then want to like come for her, like, well, she definitely doesn't write everything. Like, you guys believe everything you read. There's three songwriters on this, like, where people have to like speak up for her. And it's just like, she's literally compared to Shakespeare, not just in terms of the vast amount of things that she puts out and writes, but also the word choice and her style.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just,
I mean, Aaron Dessner
I
even
love
said
that they
it.
wrote that.
Yeah. And in like an interview recently, I think Aaron Dessner even said, like, he
Hmm.
was like, yeah, I sent her
The melody.
the melody for Willow. And I think she sent me back the entire song like 5 minutes later.
Yeah. Like, what? How does your brain work like that? You know who else's brains really, I'm like, damn, you're a genius? Are people who can freestyle rap and are like really good, like Eminem, like watching those rap battles. I'm like, how does your brain work that fast? I don't understand. How did you not only make it make sense, or that guy that like goes around and he just like sees things around him and like makes raps? Like, holy shit, you have like
Crazy.
a part of your brain that's like unleashed that like most people don't. Like,
Yeah.
that is so impressive to me.
No, I
And
agree.
it's similar, just like, how does her, how are you doing that? And not only doing that and doing it so well, but like then you had all the detail and all the Easter eggs, and
So
there's so
consistently
much
well.
behind
Yeah.
it.
Well, and
It's
I mean, I guess that's why she has so much time to do Easter eggs.
what do
Because
you
she's
mean?
always like 2 years ahead on her album. She's
Yeah.
probably already been done since Midnight's
Yeah.
with the 11th album. And it's just like, oh, well, let's see how I can make this fun for myself because I'm going to get bored. Let
Well,
me see
guess
what they
what?
pick up on until I put new music out.
Next fall is the 3 years from when she was on the interview. She's like, "Can I plan things 3 years ahead of time?" Because that was fall 2021, right? Because
Yeah.
it was the Red re-release because she was talking about the all too well 10-minute music video, and it's gonna be 3 years. So I'm excited to see if what she had in mind
Well,
for.
I mean, I was going to say, next fall is also, if she goes back to her normal routine,
Yeah.
album time, 2 years. So we'll see.
Anyway, to go off that, this was like a page or so later. My
Mhm.
next quote that I really liked. Uh, Actually, I don't like this quote that much. It's just, I mean, no, I like it, but it wasn't as well. It's ultimately just kind of similar. So it's hard to see history when you're in the middle of
Oh,
it.
yeah. I was just
Harder to
reading. Yeah.
still distinguish her impact on culture from her celebrity, which emits so much light it can be blinding. But something unusual is happening. Without a contemporary precedent, she deploys the most efficient medium of the day, the pop song, to tell her story. Yet over time, she has harnessed the power of the media, both traditional and new, to create something wholly unique, a narrative world in which her music is just one piece in an interactive, shape-shifting story. Swift is that story's architect and hero, protagonist, and narrator. Yeah, no, I liked that quote, but I don't know that I have any like added thoughts on it. Because what I wrote is like basically just to also add to everything we already said, she's also, because she mentions like the pop Taylor Swift, she's also genre shifting over and over again. So that's another
Mhm.
added thing that a lot of people don't.
Don't
I
do.
know people have done it. She's not the first, and she's not the only one to do it well. However, it's added to all the things she already is so good at. Who
Mhm.
else has that level of versatility in sound and has a hand in the sound as well as the lyrics and the stories? And then, again, what I just said, as if that's not already outstanding enough, there's so much detail in literally every single thing that she does.
Yep.
Like the lyrics, the tour, the music videos, the tour costumes, the set. Nobody else is doing all of those things so well, so planned out, um, and complex the way that she's doing it. And so
Well,
it bothers me so much when people, and I know
well,
it
and
shouldn't, but
yeah.
it does.
No, but I think that's also, again, I guess like part of her genius because she has figured out ways to keep you on the edge of
Engage.
your seat,
Yeah,
looking at
yeah.
every tweet, every caption, every music video for like more because she has the brain to
Mhm.
do weird, like little things years ahead, whatever that make her fans pay attention
Mhm.
through everything, even if nothing's coming out. Now, granted, obviously, so much stuff is coming out, like with her re records and
Right.
everything, that like there isn't really a slow moment. But at the same time, like, you don't get that with other pop stars when they release a music video. You don't watch it 12 times because you're trying to catch what time was it on the clock? Could it be June 13th that she's going to do this because it was 6:13 on the clock? Like she has crafted such a crazy like and I mean crazy in a good way obviously, but like
Yeah.
dynamic and like again because of her brain and her ability to add these little things, these little details that keep people so like enthralled.
Yeah. And it's like it all flows into the next. Like she's so great because of it, and because of it, because she's so great, we're into it. And because we're so into it, we look at every little thing, but because we look at every little thing, we're gonna keep looking. Like it all sort of, it's like a domino effect of her greatness. Like
The
it's
dominoes
in,
cascaded in a
yeah.
line.
And she's a
What if I told you I'm
mastermind,
a mastermind?
literally. And then again, it really bothers me. What I've been seeing a lot lately is people saying like Taylor Swift is white girl mediocrity. Like she's mediocre, and that's why people love her so much. That word drives me insane. The only thing I will say is like a lot of what she's doing is relatable, but that doesn't make it mediocre. Like her
Also,
lyrics are like can be relatable,
I
but
was going to
that's not what
say,
music is supposed to do. What do you mean
you,
mediocre?
to those people, I would just say, tell me how a billionaire can relate to millions of people in her songs, and tell me how somehow we're the same, or like feel like we're the same to her. Tell
Without
me
her
how
being a
that's
genius.
mediocre. What she's doing is
Yeah,
mediocre
right.
because she's not like us
Yeah,
in
and
that
yet she makes
respect.
us feel like she
She
is.
does seem to be a very humble, down to earth person, but like she is not living the same world we're living in. So tell me how she makes it seem like she's in my brain.
Yeah.
How is that
Without saying
mediocre?
that she's really smart and a genius. Like, how?
Yeah,
How can she do it? How? And also saying that she's mediocre is then also insulting all the fans.
everyone
And like I
else.
said, like that bothers me. Like, I'm not just defending Taylor Swift, I'm defending myself. Like, oh yeah, I'm a mediocre, stupid little girl. Like, shut the up. Oh my God. You are, that statement in and of itself is like these people don't know her all of her music. It's like
No,
stop saying these like blanket ignorant statements because you think that it's like it's not because they're all they're doing is listening to or like critiquing We're Never Getting Back Together or Me or Shake It Off or like one of those songs, which by the way, like saying that they're not well written or they're mediocre, which by the way, they are
it's the
well written.
point.
That's the point of that song, which makes it well written, but I'm sorry that you're not smart enough to see
Well,
that. You're not
exactly.
smart enough to understand the exaggeration, the satire, and the tone that she's trying to come across of the point of some of these songs is to sort of like poke fun at how other people see her.
Right. Well, it was
I'm
funny
sorry
because
you're not
literally the
smart
other
enough.
day, Con and I were making dinner. We were listening to Taylor Swift and we were listening to Blank Space. And I don't know what part of it was. And he was just like, I don't really think she's really like that. Like, he was like, I don't think it seems like whatever, like she's insane or this or that, whatever. And I was like, honey, that's the point of the song.
Yeah. It's
Like, it's what
satire.
everybody else thinks she is. So she wrote a
Yeah.
song
So
to
she
like
exaggerates
detail that.
that
Yeah. I was
that
like, good. I
character.
was like, yeah, no, she's not. It's like, you're right.
Wow. But I'm glad he picked up on that, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he didn't pick up on it. He was just like, that seems a little
Well,
bit much. And I was like,
well,
well,
picked up on the fact that she's not like that, I mean.
right, right. But yeah, I was like, no, honey, like she's being like satirical in what
Yeah.
she's writing about. Like,
I
duh.
literally just showed that because we're doing my Canterbury Tale, so we're doing satire. So that's the music video I showed and as my example of satire. And all the parts
Yeah.
of satire. I'm like, there's physiognomy, there's incongruity, there's reversal, there's this, there's that. So yeah. Like, sorry.
But
It
yeah, someone
just
else might think see blank space and think, oh yeah, she has dated a lot of people. And it's
yeah,
like, you're so dumb.
you're so dumb.
You're so dumb.
Sorry if you're saying that. If you're saying that you think Taylor Swift isn't a good songwriter, that she's mediocre, honestly, that really tells me more about your intelligence level
Totally.
than hers or mine. Just saying.
Yeah.
And that's all.
That's all.
That's all. So my next part, my next part, the next thing that I really liked, which was the second half of this paragraph is like probably the most quoted. But Grange, who I guess is the CEO of UMG, talking about her re-recording, said like it's bizarrely brilliant and unique, something that only an artist at her level could pull off. It's got such a narrative, there's a reason for it. He shakes his head. Imagine Picasso painting something that he painted a few years ago, then recreating it with the colors of today. Parts of the success story, Swift says, is the freedom she received from the label to follow her instincts. If you look at what I've put out since then, it's more albums in the last few years than I did in the first 15 years of my career. Prolific output has fueled her ascension. She could serve 2 terms as president of the US and then go to Las Vegas, Grange says. Who else can do that? So obviously the part that I really love is the Picasso analogy. What a beautiful sentence and a beautiful analogy of showing like how beautiful she is as an artist through her words.
Mm-hmm.
I just love that. And then
Yeah.
what she's adding of how much she's putting out, um, just calling back to our points from before, like who's putting that much out and that well, and like, oh man, I just loved it. And then the next paragraph, of course, is about Scooter Braun. Braun's clients all left, blah 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 blah, and that's the trash takes itself out line. But yeah,
Love it.
I loved that line.
Also, this is just from and not about the Picasso thing, probably more about the trash takes itself out thing. But I love how we were talking earlier when you were like, oh, like she doesn't name drop. She, Dear John, sure, like whatever. But like obviously she completely name drops Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
In this
I was like
article.
looking for that article, that part. I didn't screenshot it, but I have my take on it. Yeah, she absolutely name drops Kim Kardashian. So because she doesn't do it, like that was so intentional, and I love it. Because the trash takes itself out was actually about Bieber, well, not Bieber, about Scooter Braun. Because she says
Yeah,
nothing is
it was
permanent.
in that. Yeah.
It was probably after that. It just wasn't.
Yeah, because
But
because they were kind of discussing how, right, like Scooter Braun lost to Ariana Grande, Demi
yeah.
Lovato, Justin Bieber, and then Kanye West is an anti-Semite.
Oh
So
yeah.
then
Yeah.
like that was kind of which led to like, yeah, I have it right here. I also learned there's no point in actively trying to quote unquote defeat your enemies. Trash takes itself out every time.
Yeah. Which is so amazing and funny. And she said that, but in more eloquent words. But I love trash takes itself
Karma.
out
Yeah,
because it's so,
right.
no. Long story short,
Defeat themselves
talking
before you get the chance to
yeah, your
swing.
enemies will defeat themselves before you get the chance
No,
to
I agree. Because she's obviously referenced like, I don't have to do anything. You're going to
yeah,
downfall on your own.
multiple times.
But I
And
love
they
that
all
she did it
do.
anyway.
And they have.
Yeah.
And I love that after this, name dropping Kim, like everybody just started flooding her Instagram comments. I was just loving going through it. And I'm not like a Kardashian hater. Like I watched the show. Um, I guess like definitely more lately I've been more negative towards Kim because I'm just like even before not even Taylor Swift stuff, just like I don't know. There's just something about her that's just not sitting right with me lately.
Yeah, they've all kind of like, because in college I thought they were so funny.
Yeah, we loved watching all the
But
Kim
yeah,
or Courtney and Chloe Take Miami.
yeah, right. Well, honestly, I guess that maybe I more so loved them. But yeah, I didn't watch the last few seasons when it was still on E. And then when she was dating Pete Davidson, I started to watch it. But then
Yeah,
they
that was
broke
fun.
up before he was barely even in something. So I stopped. So I haven't really seen any
I'm
because I
pretty
agree. She's been rubbing me the wrong way.
yeah, I'm pretty much caught up in it, but honestly, almost like a hate watch because she's been rubbing me the wrong way. Because I'm like, oh, she's so wrong with this Courtney crap. I loved watching the fights of that, and like Courtney calling her a narcissist, and you're all about Kim and this and that. I'm like, yeah, bitch. And ultimately, what I think the common thread is like Kim legitimately can't take accountability for anything that
No,
she's done ever, like
no.
ever, and she should just have taken accountability because even
Apologize.
when things came back out in 2020 or whatever it was, she still tried to flip it
Yeah,
and
she
say
tried to flip
like,
it as I don't even know why we're talking about this. There's so much more wrong in the world.
yep, like why would basically saying why would Taylor Swift bring this up? That's so
Right.
BS. And it really wasn't. I just clipped it so it'd fit in a video, not to like edit it to blah 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 blah.
Bitch.
Just apologize for
Well,
what you did. And now she's still ignoring it. But then there's the video circulating of
from
the why don't you just call Taylor up? That whole scene. And people are like,
look at
Chris
her. Yeah.
knew there was holes in Kim's story and wanted
Yeah, because
basically
in
was
that
sad because I guess Chris
mhm.
and Andrea maybe were friends at one point.
It looked yeah, because you could see it when you watch it now how it's like she's like, I just don't understand what happened because
Yeah,
I like
why
her and
yeah.
I like her mom
Yep.
and well, how did we get here? And Kim was just like, no.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not taking your advice.
And then also I could totally see because that Watch What Happens live clip was circulating too when
Oh, and
Andy
she's like, we're
Cohen.
over it.
Yeah, she was like,
Yeah.
"No, I just think we're over it." Because he was like, "Well, was there ever any like conversation?" She was just like, "No, I think we've all moved on." And I honestly feel like,
Yep.
like in relation to that, Taylor made sure to call her out because it was like,
No.
"No, you might have moved on," and like, yeah, obviously, I've moved on in certain aspects too, but you never apologized to me
Yeah.
for
So
what you
no,
did
no,
to
no.
me.
Back to what Taylor Swift said when she turned 30. She's like, no, I can move on without forgiving. Like
Yeah,
you can move
you
on without
forgive, you
forgiving.
forget. but you never
Like,
let it go.
yeah, like, no, I won't forgive you. I will never forget, but I can move on with my life. But and I can actually relate to that a lot. Like, there's things that's happened in my life with people where like I can move on, and I
Yeah.
fine. I'm not holding it against. I'm not holding a grudge, but like, honey, I will never trust you again in my entire effing
Right.
life. And I know exactly what you did and how you didn't apologize for it and still trying to turn it on me. So, no, 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 no. We're never friends. Like, actually don't like you, but you don't bother me. Like, go live your life.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, like, go live your life.
Yeah.
Bye.
No, I agree. I really loved it, and I loved everything about it. And I just love, like, as much as like everybody was like, come on, don't stoop to the level that everybody did in 2016 with putting snakes on Taylor's
Yes.
Instagram.
No, no, we
I was
should
like, no, fucking do it in this case. Like, do it. And she
do
turned
it.
off comments. And
Oh,
then it
she
just makes,
did?
mm-hmm.
I love
And then
that.
it just makes me giggle because I'm like,
Kim, you know how sad Kim gets. She's like, I just want, you know, she's crying.
I wonder if there's, yeah. And honestly, they'll probably use this for ratings on a
Yeah. And
season
honestly, good.
next
I'll
year.
watch it. I don't
Yeah.
care.
And I'm going to poke
Good.
holes in everything she tries to say. But at the
Yeah.
same time, and like, and it is so funny too, because I feel like, again, with Kim not taking accountability for things, like she's posted
Balenciaga.
songs of Taylor in her Instagram story. She's
Yep.
posted like with
Her
North
North
singing to
literally
songs,
singing
like,
to. Yep.
which I won't necessarily fault
No, of
the
course,
things
there's no
with
fault.
North,
Of
because it's like,
course.
okay, if my daughter likes a song and wants me to sing and dance to her with it, I'm gonna do it. But like the Instagram story thing with like the Speak Now stuff
Just
was
speaking now.
literally unhinged for her to
You
do
know
that.
she's trying to use Taylor's likability for her own gain.
And it just makes me
They're
so
falling.
mad. Also, like even more so because Kim could have used the easiest excuse in the book. Not that anybody would
Kanye.
believe it now, but like after they got divorced, like, because I think they were divorced when Andy Cohen brought up that stuff. Like,
Or were they?
I don't
Or
remember.
they
I'll
were
have to
like
look.
separated divorce, but I feel like it's only been the last year or like season and a half that she's been like, Kanye is ruining my life. Because when they were
True.
first separated, they were still, she's like, yeah, Kanye went and got those sex tapes from whatever, Ray J. And he,
True.
look how great he is. I love Kanye. We're, blah, 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 blah.
That's a
And
good
since
point.
the only time she's started to speak out against him is since last fall when he started saying like good things about Hitler.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe she would, but like, I feel like she easily could have just been like, you saw who I was married to.
Yeah.
Like, but
I
at the
was
same time, she
I
can't
was
hide behind
trusted
it
by him.
because I don't think Kanye ever would have given two shits
No,
about Taylor Swift talking shit about him for calling her a bitch. He would have just went on
well, and not
because
to
she
mention,
released it because she was mad at his name
yeah,
being dragged through the
not
mud.
only did she release it, but if you watch the whole video, like I did once it was released in 2020 by definitely Kris Kardashian, um, Kanye says over and over again, there were two versions of this lyric. My wife liked the other one better.
Mm-hmm.
So the one that got released was that Taylor knew about was I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. And
Right.
Taylor never said she liked it. She just said like he's like, why? Because I made her famous. Never or whatever.
And
Or
and
something.
originally it was, I feel like Taylor might still owe me sex,
No, no,
right?
that's what I was gonna say. So no. So he
Oh,
says, I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. And Taylor clearly doesn't like the line. She goes, oh, I thought it was gonna be mean. Like, this doesn't feel that mean. That just feels like, I thought you were gonna call me a bitch or something. He's like, no, no, no. And she's like, yeah, I mean, like, we all have our different versions of what happened. And like, obviously you didn't make me famous. She's like, because before that happened at the VMAs, I had sold blah 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 blah. And she clearly is starting to get like pointed. But within that conversation or prior to it, he keeps saying, my wife loves the other version better. My wife loves the other version better. And then he tells her the line, Taylor Swift, I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. And he's like, my wife liked and wants it to be, I feel like Taylor Swift might owe me sex.
mm,
And Taylor was like, oh. And clearly she didn't have a reaction to that. But like,
yeah.
if he's saying, and by the way, Kim's recording, Kim liking, it's almost nice of Kanye to be like, fuck you, Kim. I'm not saying Taylor Swift owes me sex.
Right.
The fact that
Because that's
Kim
bad
wanted
from the
that, she
start.
like, and she didn't ever say like, no, I didn't say that. Like, you can't really defend that, Kim. You can't, because
Well, but
that is
also
really, that is a fucked up line, even more fucked up than me and Taylor might still
it's
have
more
sex.
fucked up, but also you can clearly see why she'd rather have that one.
Yeah, of course, as a wife, yeah, like,
Right.
rather
Like,
than like,
like,
I'm gonna have
oh,
sex with
because
Taylor
me
Swift.
and Taylor might still have sex. Like, oh yeah, I'll cheat on my wife with Taylor
But
Swift, maybe.
it also makes me think that that's why he had to add in that, because why? Because I made that bitch famous, which still is implying she owes it to me because I made her famous. So Kim was probably like, you have to add that because like otherwise it looks like you want to have sex with Taylor Swift, but you're married to me. You know what I mean? Like, it just makes me that video villainizes Kim even more than it does Kanye, because you can even hear
100%. But
Kanye's
yeah.
insanity in the video. He's like, "Well, me, I can make you as famous as you want. I'm like a G." Like, he and Taylor's like, "Okay." Steph, I don't know if you've seen the full 25-minute video. I it is so it is so clear how uncomfortable Taylor was. She wanted to get off that call, and she was being so graceful to Kanye when he
Well,
is
no, because
spewing
I was gonna say I remember the
wild
parts where it
bullshit.
was like, okay, well, just like are you gonna send me the final, like, whatever it was. Like, I remember obviously the big points of like that she was trying to say the entire time.
Yeah, she was like, "I'm not gonna speak of anything. I'm at like I'm about to be at overexposure. You could do what you want. I appreciate the heads up, but basically, I'm not gonna publicly state that I'm okay with it." Is ultimately
Right.
what she says.
And she also asked him to send her once he finished it,
Yeah.
which he never did. But no, but I agree. But I think I more so meant like Kim could have tried to spin it that she was in a marriage that she felt like she needed to stand by him because he's a
Which she
psychopath.
did say, but yeah.
But yeah, but she probably could have tried to spin that with the Taylor Swift stuff, but at the same time, like obviously she orchestrated the entire releasing of that video and all of that stuff to defend her husband at the time. But at the same time, it's just so funny because it's like Kanye wouldn't have given two shits to get that video out there. The song still would be what it was. Taylor would have still said what she did about it. I mean, look at all the stuff he said since
Yep.
without a care in the
He's literally
world.
talking shit about Stormy,
Right. Like,
about Kylie's daughter.
and now
His own
he says
media.
he likes Jewish people now because of Jonah Hill in a movie. Like, he clearly would have given two shits if it just went by, no one saying anything.
Yep.
But it is funny that everybody thinks Chris released the video. Chris or Courtney. That's what
Yeah.
everybody's saying
Oh,
now.
Courtney, yeah, I love that. I just hope they do address it, but just like for entertainment value, not because Taylor Swift needs it, because she doesn't give a shit. Just like, I hope that we get a video of them like like Kim crying about it.
Because it
Uh,
also is interesting timing though, because that video was released around the time they were getting divorced,
yeah.
which could have been what Chris maybe at the same time thought of
Thought
as
people were gonna
a
get out
she
of it.
will get out of it. Like
Yeah.
it'll clearly look like she never had a part in this, but everybody kind of saw right through it because it's
Kind of
like,
seems
no.
more like the
Chris,
Taylor
you
Swift
didn't
kind of
advise
villainized.
Kim to release that video in the first place. So this isn't going to do the damage control you think it would.
Yeah.
But
Kim is more villainized than Kanye, honestly, because Kanye's sick.
yes, and I think that's the thing. Like
Kim
I
is
think
just
Taylor understands that
a
like
bad person.
Kanye is
Sick.
also a genius in certain ways. He is. Like, but I
No,
think
for
she also recognizes that like there is a mental health issue there.
yeah. No, but
And
okay,
he
but
also doesn't care. Like I think she also
no, but he is a
realizes
god. He literally like thinks that he's God. Like he's not. He is a very, very great writer. People talk about him like in I Am a Pentameter, and he has a lot of these thoughts, but letting it get to his head, I'm gonna start my own church. I'm the smartest person alive. No, he's not. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's
well,
just not.
yes, but that doesn't negate that he isn't like in his own right talented and
No,
like
no, I wasn't. I
and
don't.
smart.
But I wouldn't say he's a genius.
Oh, well, see, I think
I don't think he's genius. I don't think he's the genius that he thinks he is. I think he's very, very talented, deserves what the success that he got, but for him to then take that success and to say that he is the greatest of all time and the genius and this and that, you're not, you're like, uh, well, one, I don't even, if Taylor Swift were to say that about herself, we'd be like, what?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Like I don't, but I also don't, as much as I have never been able to stand Kanye, probably since 2009, you can't knock what he did in the
No,
90s and early
I'm not knock
2000s
I'm not
as like
knocking,
not being.
but I'm not knocking what he did. I'm just saying he's not I don't think he's like a genius or
I
a
would
pioneer.
say the same
I
way we would call people ignorant for not understanding Taylor Swift might be a
no,
similar thing for early Kanye. Maybe not now, but you know what I
no,
mean?
but at least the point that I'm trying to say and make is not because I literally use him to talk about iambic pentameter in my English class. Like I fully acknowledge and tell my students like, no, Kanye's like look at what he's doing. It's amazing and it's great, but it's not the level that he thinks that it's at.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm not saying that like his level of what he thinks he is. I obviously I don't think he's Jesus like he thinks he is.
Right, right,
But
right.
like I do think he was very talented.
Yeah, no, I that's what I said. I
And I do think he
completely
was
totally agree.
probably a genius to a certain extent.
Yeah. Well, that's where like maybe some of the things that he did were genius, just like we all have genius thoughts and maybe he had more than an average person, but I wouldn't say that he overall as a human is a genius. I because I think that there's a lot of things that he said were genius thoughts that were very very much really unintelligent because of his mental illness. And maybe if he got
But
medicated,
and
he could
maybe
have all these
this
things he
yeah, and
could
maybe
do.
this is where
You know what I mean?
I'm getting it crossed. Taylor Swift is not a genius and Kanye West is not a genius. They're both musically geniuses though.
Yes, but I think that everything Taylor Swift does musically has a bit of genius to it, whether it's even if it's a very surface level song, there's reasons behind it. And I think that Kanye West has done many genius things in the, like you said, in the, like musically, but the stuff that he does now that he sees as genius are so clearly not that like, do you know what I mean? Like
No,
he
I
has
agree,
done
but I
genius
think
things.
the point I was trying to make originally when I brought up him being a genius was that I think Taylor understands him to a certain
Yeah,
level because
like
of the
that
way they
artist
work
mind.
together.
Yes.
Yes. Which is why I think Kim Kardashian is her enemy more than Kanye ever will be. Because
Yeah.
as much as she didn't like the song or any of it, at the same time, I think she understands his like
Yeah, and yeah,
artistic
and
brain.
right, and Kim is literally just nasty to be nasty because she just
Exactly.
wants to be at the top, and, like, that's it. There's no she just has nasty, nasty, nasty motivation,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, like, it's so clear to see that now.
For
Um,
sure.
but yeah, so okay, I have, like, 2 more notes.
Mm-hmm.
My next part, I don't know how far down this was, but this is about ultimately, um sorry, one second. Yeah, so Beyoncé and feminism and Barbie. Um, so she's
Mm.
talking about Barbie and it's a 3-part Summer of Feminine extravaganza. The other 2 parts were Barbie and Beyoncé.
Yep.
And so I can't imagine how hard that was talking about um Barbie. I can't imagine how Greta made it look so easy, blah 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 blah. And then it goes on to Beyoncé. Swift is no less effusive in talking about Beyoncé, who brokered a similar deal with AMC and shows up to Swift's LA premiere. The next month, Swift returns the favor by attending hers in London. She's the most precious gem of a person, warm, open, and funny, and she's such a great disruptor of music industry norms. She taught every artist how to flip the table and challenge archaic business practices. That her tour and Beyonce's were frequently juxtaposed
Mm-hmm.
as vexing. I love that word. There were so many stadium tours this summer, but the only 2 that were compared were mine and Beyonce's, or me and Beyonce's. Clearly, it's very lucrative for the media and stan culture to pit 2 women against each other, even when those 2 artists in question refuse to participate in that discussion. And like, thank you, Taylor Swift. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it still is happening. This like pitting of Taylor and Beyonce. And what I wanted
Unbelievable.
to say, and I saw this quote and it was beautiful and it reminded me of the Picasso thing. And like something I've been trying to like verbalize, like stop comparing them. They're different. They're different. They're different. They're different. Just because there are 2
Mm-hmm.
pop stars on the tour, they're so different. So ultimately, I saw somebody say, I kind of took my own liberty with this quote, but the basis of it was Beyonce, in comparison to those two, one is a painter and one is a sculptor. And then
I saw
this is
that.
my
Yeah.
interpretation. Both are beautiful and unique and unmatched in their work, but they are two completely different things. What is the commonality is that they're artists, right? Um, and I think that is the point. They are the thing is though, and somebody added this was like, say Taylor Swift's a painter and Beyonce's a sculptor. Beyonce's a sculptor that can also dabble in paint, and Taylor Swift is a painter that can also sculpt sometimes. But Taylor Swift is the painter and Beyonce is the sculptor. So Beyonce is this phenomenal, phenomenal performer, dancer. That's what she's known for, like vocalist, and it is unmatched, and she sort of gets this like wild fan base in a good way, the beehive, and she is has these accolades because not only because of all those things, and her music is also versatile and like changes genre to a certain extent, um but she like in the total opposite way Taylor Swift sort of isn't like hides herself. So we see her almost as like otherworldly because she doesn't do the personability like the relatability like Taylor Swift does almost intentionally. So we see her as like, oh my gosh, Beyonce, she's like not a person. She's not real because
Mm-hmm.
she hides. And that's not even necessarily my point. But on top of her being one of the greatest, if not the greatest performers, dancers, and one of the greatest vocalists of all time, and that is her sculpting, she also is a mastermind. She's creative with her ideas, has a hand in it, and although doesn't write like she had like 100 songwriters on a song or an album, which is fine, but she still does have some hand in it because you see that in the influences of Lemonade specifically is what I'm thinking. Because prior to that, she didn't have as much a hand in her music, like, with the Single Ladies era, more of it, but, like, Lemonade was, like, very much
Mm-hmm.
Beyonce's vision. She's a mastermind. Taylor Swift, on the other hand, is a painter. She is a songwriter, a producer, a director, a writer, and a musician, like guitarist, piano, all of it. And the great thing about her is she can also sculpt. She can perform, sing, and dance, maybe not to the extent of Beyonce, but she could still do it in such an enthralling way. She is also a mastermind, but they're almost complete and total opposites of why. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean. I hate the analogy because
what?
to me, I don't know, because I think that they could. Uh, to me, when I hear, and I guess maybe it's what you take the definition of each is like to me, I hear sculptor and I think someone who creates something,
Oh,
like
I was
molds
just saying
something, and
two.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
that's her writing songs.
Yes.
That's what I hate. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
hate
yeah.
anything else about the way
That
that they each
is,
operate, but I
yeah.
can't stand the painter and the sculptor thing because I'm
No,
like,
I thought the same thing. So that was exactly it was sculptor and painter, and sculptor was Beyonce and painter was
yes,
Taylor. And at first
exactly.
I was like, is this person shading Taylor Swift? Because I had the same thought. But then I was like, but we could take two. I think really what the point is supposed to be is like two artists that are completely different. Like one is a painter and one is a sketch artist, say. Like I like
Well,
just
yeah, and that's
getting
because
rid
I was
of the
almost like, I
getting
was like,
past
shouldn't
that.
they be flipped? Like, shouldn't the
Yeah, yeah,
sculptor be the
yeah.
person that builds something from the ground up, like
Yeah.
songwriting and all, and shouldn't the painter be
Yes.
this one that like puts on this
Totally
great,
get
make
it.
it pretty production kind of a
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
Like,
No,
I get it,
yes.
but
I
I
totally
hated it.
agree.
I was like, I wish they picked something different to
No,
use to describe it.
I totally agree, but now what I'm taking it as is like we could just pick any two types of art. Like one is a sculptor and one is a architect. I don't know, like whatever it is you want to say. Just the point is like two completely it's art, it's music, but they're two completely different crafts and skill sets.
Yeah.
And they both can dabble in the other skill sets and be great at it, but each of them is like the best at their specific thing. Like one is Picasso and one is I don't know who another great artist is in a different. You know what I mean? Like, but no, I thought the same thing at first when I saw the tweet. But the rest of it, I was like, no, that's kind of exactly the point that I was trying to like always say. Like they're just different, but still both
Yeah, and to be
phenomenal.
fair, again, like I think we've said it in episodes past, like I think the only reason these two in particular are pitted against each other is because they are both so big that there's nobody else you could compare them to. Like, I'm sorry, Ariana Grande, no.
She hasn't done anything recently.
But also like when you think of maybe what you'd call Ariana Grande being better at than
Singing?
Taylor Swift, right? Like if singing for sure,
Yeah.
I'm just going to say Beyonce instead.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
Beyonce is
Because
better than
Ariana
Beyonce's
only
bigger
has
than Ariana
high,
Grande.
bigger, but also Ariana is only like the whistle high notes, which is I love Ariana Grande, but Beyonce can go low and high. She can go anywhere.
But right, which is what and like if you have a really good songwriter that you're like I can't think of one off the top of my head that maybe is a little bit less obviously
Phoebe
known than Taylor
Bridgers?
Swift. Right, like you wouldn't be like, "Oh, well, Phoebe Bridgers is well, because
She doesn't
Ariana
have
Grande is really big." So I don't want to like diminish Ariana Grande's career, but at the same time
no,
it's
but
like,
Phoebe's nominated for a Grammy. So like she's on the trajectory of being that big. You know what I mean?
well, yeah, but I just mean like
I know what
you're
you mean.
not
In
you're
terms
just
of
going to
pop
use Taylor
star,
Swift just like you're just going to use Beyonce as the comparison
right?
because there's no
There's no
people
comp
bigger than
other,
them.
yeah,
So
in their own right.
who else are you
No,
going to
absolutely.
yeah.
But I just love that because I'm like, oh, because it really that's one of the Twitter
No, and
Swifties.
it's still
This is
annoying.
like,
Like they both went to each other's
you know,
movie premieres
and
and she
it's
calls her
still
out in the
happening.
article, like, but they're still crap.
Yep.
But now they've just moved on to Ariana Grande, actually, now that I mentioned like the Twitter Swifties have just moved on to going back to them.
Yeah.
But to be fair, and maybe this is just the side of Twitter that I've seen.
It's more
I
Beyonce
have
people.
it's what?
Oh, no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I like I've seen Ariana Grande things recently, but it's because an Ariana Grande fan will show like a picture of like Taylor Swift like straining to sing and Ariana Grande just like looking like she's humming
Yeah.
and being like they're singing the same note. Like it's like her fans that will start it and then I see
Yep.
Swifties like react.
Yep.
I don't see Beyonce fans. I mean, I know they exist, but in
Starting
what
it?
I've
Oh, really? Because
no,
I
I
see
just
more of
mean
that
like
than
when I on the side of Twitter I'm on, maybe it's because Beyonce probably doesn't have as young of fans maybe as both of them do, but like I have seen comparisons between the two of them, but I don't see as petty of comparisons as
yeah.
I see from other
You're not on
things.
yeah, I'm just on a different side of Twitter because they're there. They are there. They are there. They are there. And it's like Taylor Swift ready for it. Her dancing. They're like, this is who you whatever. And then it's like videos of Beyonce. And then it's like
Mm.
comparing lyrics to like we are never getting back together to like Halo back and forth. And then it's like
Oh
it's
yeah, no, I don't see
and
that.
then the white girl mediocrity is from Beyonce fans. That tweet, like that was
Oh,
it's right now. I haven't seen Ariana because where is Ariana Grande right now? Like who knows?
dating SpongeBob.
Literally. So I haven't seen that. It's strictly Beyonce fans and I would also fault Taylor Swift fans. But what I've seen lately, and I don't know why it's coming up on my feed, but it's Beyonce fans just like pulling things from time, pulling things from like recent Taylor Swift stuff, not the other way around. It's actually what I see in the feed now. This is the only bright light of the Swifty Twitter I've seen. It's Taylor Swift fans saying like, stop, like they all got crowns, you need to calm down. They're different. Like literally they showed up for each other. Taylor Swift literally said this in her
It's
timeout article.
crazy.
So it's actually crazy. Some of the fans I'm seeing still coming at it. It's bothering me, but I'm not faulting Taylor Swift Twitter users, Taylor Swift fan Twitter users either because they're still like out of control.
I mean, she said it herself, the stan culture period
Yep.
is an issue.
It's an absolute issue. It's an absolute issue. Like she does not owe us anything, let alone the things that you guys think that she owes us. Like
Just stop being
down to the
weirdos.
point of like her outfits, or down to the point of who she's dating, that people think that she needs to like change who she's dating because of the statement that it makes to the world.
Or
Like,
also, like, I saw, like, because in her birthday post or something, she was like, yeah, I'm a millennial. I'm going to use emojis. I don't
yeah,
care, whatever. And it's like, I saw
that was
someone,
funny.
like, literally was just like, is she so online that she sees literally all of you idiots on Twitter making
Yeah,
fun
so
of her
then
for using emojis that she feels like she has to call it out?
yeah,
Relax.
yeah, it's
You're
insane.
14.
Yeah,
20 years from now, people are going to be calling out you for doing some
for
stupid
the
shit.
stuff that you're tweeting when you're 14. So
Yeah,
get ready.
exactly.
I'm ready for it because You're gonna be like, who cares what I said? Well, you care what Taylor Swift literally what shoes you wear. Um, so my last thing, well, just the other thing that goes off of that and everything we've been saying, I don't have to comment more on it because I feel like, or whatever, I feel like we've been sort of saying this, but she says that her success of all the success of all three things, Beyonce, Barbie, Taylor Swift, feels like an inflection. If we have to speak stereotypically about the feminine and the masculine, women have been
Mm-hmm.
fed the message that we naturally gravitate toward. She has a few examples: girlhood, feelings, love, breakups, analyzing those feelings, talking about them nonstop, glitter, sequence. We've been taught that those things are more frivolous than the things that stereotypically gendered men gravitate towards, right? Right, I say. And what has existed since the dawn of time, a patriarchal society? What fuels this society? Money, flow of revenue, so on and so forth. If we're going to look at this in the most cynical way possible, feminine ideas becoming lucrative, i.e., the tour, Beyonce's
Mm-hmm.
tour, Barbie, means that more female art will get made. It's heartening. So, like, what a beautiful sentiment. And the note I want to add, based on everything that we've said, is like, and she said this before with you need to calm down. Like, I want to talk politics and I want to wear pink or like whatever it is. Just because it's pink and sparkly doesn't make it frivolous and dumb and immature and childish. Childish. It's also crazy, like to that point, that people like in my personal life, like when I go to work, talk about how um oh, all Taylor Swift, and not just work, just in general, all Taylor Swift does is talk about relationships. Like she's so immature. Like it's so surface level and childish. Like all she does is write about like love and breakups, like her like good and bad. Like, but hold on though. Like actually think about that statement for a bit, because isn't something that most people can agree on in this world is that the most important thing in our lives is the love and the relationships that we have with each other, friendships, family,
Mm-hmm.
finding somebody to have a family with. Is that not the most profound thing that we all like? Is that not the most profound thing is love? Like that I would say most people agree on.
Yeah.
So what do you mean her writing about love is frivolous and is childish? Like that to me is like such a point of like you just don't like when girls do it. Because if a
Yes.
girl does it and it's pink, it's like, "Oh, you're just so immature." That's so
But
surface
it's,
level.
yeah. And it's also not even like,
And it's not even the only thing she writes about. So forget
well,
but
no, right. But it's
like
not even like, it's not even just related to like music. It's like, okay, then when you have friends over, what do you talk about? Because I've seen men hang out and they
yeah.
scream at a fucking TV while they watch a ball walk around the stage, the court, the field, whatever. You're not
And when they're
talking
not
about deep things.
yeah.
You're not
Who
talking
does
about
talk about
politics for 5 hours.
yeah. Who does talk about deep things usually? I want to know.
Well,
Who
that's what I
usually
mean. Like
does?
when you use, oh, she just writes about breakups, or oh, she's just crying in a corner.
It's so
It's like,
surface level. Well, but what about all the conversations that like when even adult conversations, not just what I hear my high school boys talking about because I teach all boys, but like when I'm the only girl in a room of men at work with my adult coworkers in front of my family, in front of my boyfriend's friends, and I'm like the only girl, guess what they talk about a lot of the time?
yeah,
It's definitely not things that are introspective. And I definitely don't feel like I'm having like a really deep conversation. It's
no,
definitely either just sports or let's talk about
girls.
women and female bodies a lot of the
Yeah,
time. Like
right.
one of the like and no shade because I love the friends of my boyfriend, I really do, but like one of the first things one of them said, and I was right there, was like, "Oh yeah, did you meet blah 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 last night when we were in Puerto Rico?" Yeah. Next comment. We're all thinking it, right? Oh yeah, that girl's a rack. That was and I was like, "What?" And then
Yeah,
I'm like going in, I'm like, "What?" Like that's what you guys have to say. Not surprising, but
right. But why do you guys get to
you're
have
30
those
years
types of
old.
conversations, but
But
we
that's
can't
but
relate
that's
to breakups?
actual deep feelings. What? But we're the ones that are surface level. What?
Pretty
it's just
much.
interesting.
It's similar to how boys could never have periods or babies.
Wait, what?
They
Can
can't
you?
handle it.
Okay.
They can't handle the pain. Just like when a man is sick, it's like the world
Yeah.
stops.
Oh my God, the world stops. They're so dramatic.
But like it's same thing.
Oh my God. But it just, that's another thing that bothers me. For me, it's an insult to us to say that it's surface level, it's frivolous. Like, all she does is this and you love her so much. What? Come again?
No, it's just
Come again? Like, what do you mean?
annoying.
So I'm happy. I'm just so happy with the article. The last thing that there's not much to say about this, but like towards the end, she was talking about re-recording her albums, and she's like, then talking about revisiting Reputation, which is the most charged era. It's a goth punk moment, female rage, being gaslit by an entire social structure. And then she's laughing. And she's like, I think a lot of people see it and just say snake strobe lights. But she said the upcoming vault tracks will be fire, she promises. The re-recordings projects feels like a mythical quest. I'm collecting Horcruxes, I'm collecting Infinity Stones. Gandalf's voice is in my head every time I put on a new one. For me, it's a movie now. So one, whoa, for Reputation. Two, I love the Harry Potter and Marvel allusions. Oh, and
And Lord of the Rings.
I don't care
Yeah.
about Lord of the Rings, but the other two made me, I was like, love those things. That was so fun. I love that she said that. So I'm like, I don't even know what it means. But then she said, for me, it's a movie now. Well, one, we know that she's supposed to be writing or directing movies. So, like,
Well, I was gonna say though, honestly, the whole thing when I was reading that part, I was like, is she hinting that there's going to be a bigger like re-recording movie? Like documentary about her re-records? Because I was like, this
I
makes
didn't even
no
think
fucking
that,
sense to throw
Steph.
this all in here.
It's a movie now. Well, I do get, I mean, I understand the reference of collecting Horcruxes and the Infinity Stones, as in her old albums to gather them all together. But you're right, because once you collect, I
But
can't
like
speak
I
for
did,
Lord of
yeah,
the
I guess I
Rings.
did. The for me, it's a movie now. Didn't make sense. Besides, like,
No,
oh, she
but
probably has a
No, but
documentary or
you're right,
something.
because though, hear me out. Because once you collect all the Horcruxes and destroy them, you can kill Voldemort. Once you collect all the Infinity Stones, you could kill the whole world or do whatever the fuck you want. But something big happens. Don't know about Gandalf, but the other two,
Does not have the same type of
yeah,
relation,
but
no.
once you collect all of them, something big can happen. So once you collect all of them, it's a movie now. You're right. It's gonna be a movie. There's a movie. I don't
Well,
know.
and I think it's been
Something big's
hinted at
happening.
because
Well,
there's
yeah.
been more filming of the Eras tour than we saw, obviously, in the concert film. And there were camera crews at her premiere of it. So it would make sense that there's a broader documentary about the eras, the re-records, the tour, all of that once the eras tour and the re-records are done. You know, like it would make sense.
Yes, it would make sense. I really pray to God that we get some sort of like documentary, like something like that. But it also just, I don't know, for me, it's a movie now. Like, I don't know why I didn't think of it until you just said it. Like, literally didn't even cross my mind that that meant something. I just genuinely screenshotted it because I liked that she mentioned Marvel and Harry Potter. Like, that was it. It's totally something. But also, you never know with Taylor Swift how big this something could be. Like, for example, it could be something as obvious as I'm releasing the Eras tour to rent digitally for my birthday with 3 extra songs. That's not something that's like exciting for sure, and I want it, but not mind blowing. Oh my God, what? And then you have the other hand, which is all too well 10-minute version plus a music video, 2 music videos. Or I'm releasing Midnight's the album, and then at 3 a.m. I'm dropping a 3 a.m. Sleepless Nights additional shit that nobody was ever expecting. You're like, what the fuck? So there's you know what I mean? Like, there's two ends of her,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's a movie now, might be exactly what we're thinking. Like, there's no in between. It's either exactly what we're thinking, a documentary,
Yep.
or God knows, God only knows. Taylor
Yeah.
Swift only knows.
I know.
But it's something, and I just thought, I didn't even think of that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. I hope it's
Well, we literally know that she is going to be doing a movie, like writing or directing, I forget what it is.
yeah, and we know
But I
that
don't think that that's what that is about. that it's
No,
a
I genuinely, it did seem like she was filming more than what we obviously saw with the
like what you're
Eras Tour
saying.
movie. So
Yeah.
I think it probably is something like re-record
And I
slash
will be dead. Like
so good.
I'm like like she has to give us a documentary
Yeah.
style of everything. Like I
And I think
just
she will, because it's also why people are like, where are the Evermore Long Pond sessions? Like,
yeah,
there's
where
more.
are they?
There's more. We know there has to be.
I want the behind the scenes. I just want everything.
I know. I know. God. And I do think the one thing I liked, it's basically towards the very end of the article, but it's kind of like um when she's kind of talking about how like the Kim Kardashian stuff felt like her career was over.
Yeah, and then
And
the
he
artist.
kind of like the
Yeah,
writer kind of
awful.
references like, I wanted to ask, but Reputation was still a successful album. Like it became the
Right,
highest grossing tour. So like, how could your career have been over? But
right,
I just like that he kind of like went retrospective with it. But he was like, but isn't that exactly what she's trying to teach us? That like your internal thoughts and feelings about things matter. Like
right.
that might have been the worst thing that's ever happened to you in
Yeah,
your life. And it's okay if you
and you
feel
want to
like
feel
that was
validated. Yeah,
right. Like, so I was like, you know what? I'm glad they went that direction
no,
because
and
I
I
agree. Like, and I
yeah,
could totally see how people reading this article that maybe if they weren't like fans of hers would be like, come on, you're being over dramatic
right, and be like, oh, she's out of touch.
because
Like,
you were still famous. Like what, that didn't ruin your career. But like, I
right.
liked how that part was added because it was like, no, like to her, it ended. Like
It
that was
like
it.
gave he like added that his introspection and thoughts on that, and in the same breath, like you said, sort of like gave the counter argument. Like you might
Right.
be
Of why
thinking
it's okay that
this,
she felt that way.
and let me
Yeah.
explain why she was actually vindicated in saying what she said.
Yeah, yeah. But then I think, who am I to challenge it? Is that how she felt? The point is, she felt canceled. She felt as if her career had been taken from her. Something in her had been lost and she was grieving it. Maybe this is the real Taylor Swift effect that gives people, many of them women, particularly girls, who have been conditioned to accept dismissal, gaslighting, and mistreatment from a society that treats their emotions as inconsequential, permission to believe that their interior lives matter. Thanks.
Beautiful. No,
Thank you, sir.
yeah.
I was watching someone read that on TikTok and literally start crying, and I was like, okay, yeah,
Damn.
yes.
No, but seriously, like that speaks to on a different note, like how well he did. I think it was a guy,
I
right?
think it
That wrote
was,
it.
yeah.
How well he did in this interview, and like not just the interview, but rather like what he added to it and the context that he added, because it gave it a level, like it made it grounded, and not that it wouldn't have been without it, but like it it he added the stuff that maybe haters would be thinking, and then he like
Hmm.
tore that apart. Like, no, what she said wasn't out of touch, and what she said wasn't like
Right.
like whatever. And here's why. And like
Yeah.
he did it in a way that wasn't like nasty. Like I'd be like, "You're a stupid idiot for saying that." He was like, "I thought the same thing, but then I realized." So,
Right.
and then he had such beautiful takes. I don't know. I think he did a great job.
It was really good, and I just like love that we got like a long form interview from her because we really have not gotten that in.
Maybe since her 30th birthday, but I don't know how long for when she sat down with like was it Diane Sawyer? Um, and when she was like, "You can forgive and you forget, but you or no,
Yeah,
you can
when
move
she
on
said she was
without
going to
forgiving or
re-record.
forgetting." Yes, that.
Yeah, and like, and at the same time, it's like, I get that, like, I guess I mean a long form interview.
About her personal life. Oh, wait, maybe not.
Yeah, and like also just that like clearly they followed her
For many
for a
months.
while
Yep.
to like write it, and then obviously again adding those sort of like
The
introspective
context.
pieces to it. And I think
Yeah, it wasn't like a video and then it was put out. Like,
right. So I was just like, wow, I'm happy we've got this again.
no,
And
it's a piece
and
of art.
again
Did you buy it? I was at Barnes and Noble yesterday to get a bunch of graphic novels for the student I was telling you about, and we
Mhm.
got you would love everything that we got. We got like Invincible, all this Marvel stuff, all these graphic novels, because he's into all that stuff. But anyway, I was looking for the magazines, and They don't have.
It's not
They
out
had
yet.
time. Oh, really? When does it
I
come
th-
out?
I think it's like the December issue, but I don't think it was released yet, like in
Oh, okay.
stands.
Okay, because I was gonna say I looked and they had time, but it was like, and Taylor Swift was on it, but it was like with 4 other people. And I was like,
Yeah, I
I
think
want all, I want them all.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna get one once it comes out because I want
I
the
want to
one with
try
the
to get all
cat.
4. Yeah. Oh, that was my favorite one by far.
And I'm gonna have to try to do it.
Yeah. But
Fredster.
I okay, so that makes me feel better if it wasn't out yet because I was like, damn, it's already sold out everywhere.
I don't think it came out yet because I think
Okay,
it was
good.
sort of like, oh, this issue will be released in November or in December, but like I don't think it was out at
Okay,
least,
I'm
you
gonna
know.
Google that real quick. When will the
But
magazine?
it was really good. And then yeah, I mean, I also just like really appreciate some of her like not necessarily pettiness. We kind of talked about it with the Kim Kardashian stuff, but just like some of her revisionist history with like calling London a foreign country.
I know. What? That is
Like
so
she
funny.
just
Like, come
wants to
on.
completely be like, no.
No, this didn't exist. Like, who is this man?
And
I've never heard
like,
of
yeah,
him.
the 6 years thing was just, oh wait, no.
Wait, what 6 years thing?
I'm gonna have to. Well, she said, I'm more trusting than I was 6 years ago. Um, uh, shoot, let me see.
Oh, then I was 6 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, no, more, well, she says more trusting than I was 6 years ago, which kind of felt like
It
a
could be a
dig
double
to all
meaning.
of it.
Taylor
Like, you
Swift,
know,
but
the
if we
Kanye
then
stuff,
bring
and
in,
obviously she dated Joe for 6 years, so six just
yeah,
feels like particularly like
she loves a double meaning.
call it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she
The
makes a
London, the
comment
foreign
about like,
country. So it was the foreign country, and then she was talking about her relationship with Travis and how it was public. And she goes, to me, public means we're supporting each other and we don't give a shit. On
yes,
the
here it
other
is.
end of that was the private.
Yeah, when you say your relationship is public, that means that I'm going to. Oh wait, yeah, um, which means I'm going to see him do what he loves. We're showing up for each other. Other people are there, and we don't care. She says the opposite of that is that you have to go to an extreme amount of effort to make sure no one knows that you're seeing someone, and we're just proud of each other.
Yeah. So, like, was that a little, was that,
Totally,
yeah.
because it like you essentially did not see them ever out. He barely acknowledged her existence
Yeah.
ever. And she literally calls it in a direct opposite of what she's doing with Travis right now, which makes me obvious.
I agree. Until people said that, though, I originally thought she just was referring to the first 2 months of their relationship where nobody knew that they were dating.
Well, and I think that's probably part of it. Like,
But then I'm like, oh, you're right. It could be shade.
but she goes, because it's like, given her complex history with public interest in her dating life, I say it seems noteworthy that her relationship with Kelsey has played out so publicly. Swift gently pushes back. Started on the podcast. We went to hang out right after that. So we did get some time together that we were, got to know each other in private. But then, right, when you say a relationship is public, it means that I'm going to see him do what he loves and we're showing up for each other and we don't care. Like, I feel like it was indirect. She was referencing it more to the writer saying, oh, but you're typically more private.
Right. She's like, no.
Where she's kind of like, well,
not,
no,
though.
I never wanted that.
And
the opposite of what I'm doing now would be acting like we don't exist, basically, to each other, which I felt was sort of like a dig at like, no. You think I'm private because of the way I had to act the last 6 years of my last relationship.
Yeah.
That's not how I want to be.
It's so funny to me when there are some like, I don't want to be like fake Taylor Swift fans, but like people who are like, and Taylor Swift, like she always wants to be private. And it's like, no. If you remember Taylor Swift, she always was wanted to be public. And it even said that, I want to show off my relationship. I think we should be loud about it. No, she was only private when it came to Joe, really.
Well, and also like more specifically, And I still hate that sometimes blame Joe for all of it, but like she wanted to be private once the public hated her.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then Joe never really wanted to move beyond that. It seems like privacy, when in her mind it was like, okay, I'm over this trauma. I'm ready to
Yeah.
be back out there, sort of a
Yeah.
thing. Like she was never,
She's
are you
been
kidding me? She was
literally
all over
the
the
least
place.
private person in the
Literally her
entire world.
overexposure is what took her down,
Yeah.
essentially, because they felt like she needed to come back down to earth.
Yeah. Like, what? Like, that's literally what. It's so crazy to me that people are like, yeah, well, it's like the first time she's been like
Again,
public.
it's the 14-year-olds on Twitter.
Yeah. It's not the first time she's been public, guys. It's definitely not.
No.
Like, ugh. But I did just see that it says it'll be available in to buy. The site notes that copies will start shipping out the week of December 18th, which is today.
Here we go.
So, and it will cost $9.99 for one and $27.99 for all three, because there are three different ones. You could physically purchase a copy of it at a few retailers, but not every location of these retailers will sell the magazine. So Barnes and Noble, Target, and Walmart. I went to Barnes and Noble yesterday, which was the 17th. So I guess if they start shipping today, then. But it says the magazine shop notes that it'll start shipping, not Barnes and Noble. So I'm assuming in the next few days
Yeah.
we'll be able to purchase. So I will be at. Damn it! I was literally at Target today and Barnes and Noble yesterday. Ugh.
I'll have to go
You
to
know what?
Target.
I have to go
or
to
Barnes and
ShopRite.
Noble.
I have to go to ShopRite tomorrow, which is in Ledgewood. Where can I go to? I could go to Walmart. You know they took down the Barnes and Noble in Ledgewood, so
I was gonna say I'd rather go to Barnes and Noble than Target or Walmart. So I'll
no, I
find
would too.
one.
But Barnes and Noble's in Morris Plains and Target's in Rockaway. So if I'm going to Ledgewood or Byram, well, if I'm going to Ledgewood, I can only go to Walmart.
I'll probably go later.
But you know what? I think I'm
Like
gonna
in
go.
like 2 weeks when I definitely know it's out.
I did see though. Well, I didn't see. One of my coworkers said to me, they were like, "Oh, did you hear about the Time article?" I was like, "Yeah," and they're like, "No, did you hear that? Like, they're already anticipating that they can't possibly print enough copies for how many people want to buy them." And I was like,
Well, because I
"Really?"
think you could pre-order it.
Yeah. So I was
And
like,
I think like
"Good."
220,000, they've already done 220,000 in pre-sales or something. And like last year's Time Person of the Year article sold like 67,000 total.
Damn, is pre-sale sold out? I was
I have
gonna say
no clue.
I'm gonna pre-sale it right now. I'm gonna order that shit right fucking now. But yeah, that I'm scared because I'm like, damn it. I just want this is such a big deal. I have like the stupid Taylor Swift magazines that have been made over the summer, but like I want like the actual legit person
Yeah,
of the year one. I gotta get it. I gotta get it. I gotta get it.
you'll get it.
And one sweet note, when she won person of the year, I knew she was up for it. And one of my old students, I had him freshman year, he's a junior now, and he's like one of the brightest kids ever. Like he was in my CP class freshman year for English, and like day 3 I'm like, this boy needs to be an AP as a freshman. Like he is so smart, he is so sweet, such a good kid with a bright future. Anyway, all my students make fun of me for Taylor Swift, but like I like it. Like, it builds our rapport. Anyway, I knew she was up for it, and then I'm like walking in. It was the day I was leaving for Puerto Rico, and it was Wednesday. So I guess that's the day it came out. And he's like, Miss Namath, Miss Namath. And I was like, what's up? He's like, did you hear Taylor Swift's person of the year? I was like, well, yeah, I know she's up for it. He's like, no, she got it. I was like, what? He's like, you didn't know yet? And like there were other like teachers. I was like, wait,
Mhm.
seriously? And he's like, yeah. I was like, you might be the first person ever, because people always try to tell me things about Taylor Swift, but I know them. I'm like, I just want you to know you might be the first person that's ever told me something about Taylor
Told me
Swift that I
something.
didn't
Yeah.
already know. And he like giggled to himself, and I'm like, oh, and then I went in and like saw it, and I was like, what?
So
I mean,
crazy.
other than you, I guess, like telling me when albums release that I'm like
Yeah,
in the middle
yeah.
of like work, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, what? So like a student dropped the news to me, which
I love
was
that.
sweet, but it was also cute. Like I kind of love that he was like so excited to tell me about it.
No, I agree. That's
He's
so
a good
cute.
person, and he wouldn't be like she didn't deserve it. He's just a good person.
Right. He was just excited to share the joy.
Yeah, he's a good kid. He's seriously gonna be like I don't know. He's brilliant though, but he's gonna do something great. Great kid. Anyway, that's how I found out.
Wow. I think I just like saw a bunch of tweets go out about it, so I just
Yeah.
read the article at work.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
I
like,
think
don't
that's how
touch
I
my
found
phone
out.
during work. Otherwise, I'm sure I would feel, I would have found out the same way. Anyway, any other thoughts?
I don't think so. I think we've accidentally done a long one.
Yeah, but you know what? Not that this makes it better, but I just feel like you don't even have to edit it. Like, you should just put it out.
No, I don't think I have time to. So it is just going to go out.
Genuinely, there was like two parts that, like, one part I like lost my thought, but like, who cares? Like, let them think.
Yeah. No, I think it's genuinely just going to have to
I think it's great. I think they can sit
go
with it.
out.
I
All
think it
right.
should
Well,
just
if I missed anything that's cancelable, you guys just let us know via email at drop everything
No,
podcast.
just I guess call our jobs,
gmail.com.
get us fired.
You can DM us on Twitter. Drop everything out podcast.
No, because we're gonna start popping off on Twitter as soon as I get pissed.
Who's popping off on Twitter? What?
Us. Remember we said that we're gonna start popping off on Twitter?
Oh yeah, on Twitter. What's our Twitter?
Swifty Steph's 13.
Okay, we're gonna start popping off on Twitter, so follow us there. And you can DM us on TikTok too.
Calling out the 16-year-olds.
Yeah, we're gonna fight with some tweeners. Yeah. We've decided it's time to take matters into our own hands.
Literally.
Get ready for the Great War, everyone. You can pick your stuff back up. And your cloaks and your daggers. Because we're coming for them on Twitter. Stay tuned.
Oh, good times. We're dropping everything. Our mics.
Yeah, but seriously, pick your stuff up because we're dropping our mics.